We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Thank all of you for being here tonight for our March 11th Town Council meeting. Appreciate you coming. We'll call our meeting to order. We'll begin with our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem Devaney, I'll ask you to lead us in our invocation.
Sure. If everyone would please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight. We thank you for the privilege to be stewards for you. Lord, we ask for your help in glorifying your name in all our works. Lord, help us to be compassionate and work together and unite this town, a town we all so love dearly. Lord, help us to continue to discover, develop, and discern our gifts and our talents through you. Hear us, O Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you please stand with me, we'll join together in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll just a moment do our introductions, but before they introduce themselves, I'd like to introduce them on our behalf, our new town attorney, Miss Ashley Anderson. We've got to meet her, spend a little time this afternoon, and we welcome you and thank you for being here tonight. And that said, Mr. Rollins, we'll start with you if we could do our introduction, please.
Floyd Rollins, Town Manager.
Ashley Anderson, Town Attorney.
John Doggett. Heath Clay.
Lynn Williams Devaney.
Tim Sessom.
Janelle Robinson.
John Hamilton.
Michael Harvey, Planning.
Jeff Bacon, Acting Town Clerk.
We'll move on to item number 4, our consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda, or would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as it is produced.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Announcements and recognitions. We'll begin with announcements.
Mr. Mayor, I have a few announcements. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff for hosting the volunteer lunch that we had here back in January. It was great. We had a wonderful turnout. The room was full. Staff did a great job on decorations and presentations, and everybody received a really nice notepad, binder, book. So we really appreciate that, and really we appreciate all the volunteers that come out and help in all of our events and in every way that you do to take care of this town. I also wanted to thank John Hamilton, the staff, and the fire department for hosting and working with the rabies clinic. That had to be moved because of weather, but as I understand it, still turned out to be great. So thank you for doing that. And that was a new event for our town. Just wanted to let everybody know we still have some committee openings on Founders Day. We have 2 to 3 positions. It's one of our bigger committees, and it's lots of fun, no pressure, no stress. The planning board, we are in need of 2 alternates, and the history committee has 1 or 2 positions open. I think it's 2. Also wanted to announce some of our upcoming events. Hands-on Summerfield, and that's a community-wide volunteer event. And it's going to be on Saturday, March the 29th from 8 a.m. to approximately 2 p.m. or depending on whenever your project's done. Staff and council will divide up in teams and will be around our town fixing things, straightening things, cleaning things. There's a lot of different projects. The More Guys, which is one of the PTA groups at the school, is actually going to help do some cleanup around the school. during this event, so that's very exciting. To sign up for this, go to our town website, and you will see Hands on Summerfield link there. It's very easy. Also, Founder's Day will be here before we know it, and that is May 16th and 17th. That's a Friday and Saturday. All sponsorships for anybody who wants to sponsor rides or any of the attractions, they're due the first part of April. I think the date was April 4th, but just remember the first part of April. If you need any information or want to know any information about Founder's Day, please contact myself or Jeanette Dockery at Town Hall, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Also, I wanted to thank the Parks and Rec / Maintenance Department for continuing to clean up and fix a lot of things. Mr. Kuhn, may I call on you for a second, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us the skinny list on just a few things that you guys have done besides the bathrooms, which was huge?
So I made a little list here, and I cut it way down on some of the highlights of what Eric Kuhn, Parks and Rec. So we have been working to eliminate the contractors, like we talked about in the last city council meeting, and turn picking up the equipment. With the equipment, we've answered, I think, several public works requests within the community to help alleviate like a treadmill that fell in the middle of the road, ended up in somebody's front yard. I've been to NC. I've been to the pesticide training. I went to the Parks and Rec conference. We've done several painting projects. We've assembled furniture. We're currently getting prepared to take over all the grounds, the housekeeping, the maintenance, every other event that the city needs accomplished. In addition to, I got the schedule completely organized for all travel, which will be every weekend except for 2 over at the ball field. And I have 5 schools that are using the fields for baseball, soccer, softball.
Great, thank you so much. And I know you've changed cameras and locks everywhere as well, so thank you so
Entire
much.
town has been rewired.
And make sure you let your staff know thank you as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's all I have.
Any other announcements? Then we will we'll move on to recognition. One housekeeping matter we do, I think, need to do prior to that is, as we do have a resolution here, I think we need to vote on it. Has everyone had opportunity to read it and prepared? Is there any discussion, or would someone like to call for a vote?
I'll call for a vote that we approve the resolution as written for Fire Chief Johnson.
Thank you. Have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And it is unanimous. I'm going to ask Chief Johnson, if he would, to come here front and center. And, this man is very close to these people over here. And these people over here are very special. They're our firefighters. They are the people who protect us. And this is their leader. And so I'm going to ask you guys, if you would, Chief Johnson, if you just stand and face everybody so they can see you. And this guy, if there's one person in this room that's not comfortable with this, it's this man right here. So he'll get mad at me later. But I'm going to ask all you guys if you'll come over and stand behind him and back him up, because I know he gives you credit for everything that he has done and accomplished through working with you guys. And so everybody just get behind him there. And we're going to read this.
You don't know, this is my daughter. She's one of our explorers. So if you got anybody from the ages of 14 to 17 that wants to be a junior firefighter, we're taking applications.
What's her last name?
She's a Johnson. She'll be soon leaving us, going to Ohio, college.
Proclamation name is Town of Summerfield Recognition and Appreciation. I'm getting emotional with it. Fire Chief Chris Johnson. Proclamation PROC-2025-001. Original adoption date 3/11/25. That's tonight, and we just adopted it. So, and here's the proclamation. Whereas the Town of Summerfield believes in recognizing and honoring citizens for their outstanding contributions to the town, and whereas Fire Chief Chris Johnson unofficially started with the Summerfield Fire Department as a young child. I think he was a young child, and then officially joined at 16 years old, responding to calls with his grandfather, who was the first ever fire chief of the department. Whereas in 1990, at the age of 16, so you were 16, he officially joined the department as a volunteer member, and whereas in 1997, after graduating from college with a Bachelor of Science in Fire and Safety Engineering Technology, he continued to volunteer at the Summerfield Fire Department while being a full-time firefighter at the Greensboro Fire Department, and whereas in 2007, he became the 4th fire chief for the Town of Summerfield Fire District and continues to serve in that capacity today. And whereas under his leadership, the Summerfield Fire District has become a statewide example of a community-based fire department and has improved the fire district from an ISO Class 6 to now an ISO Class 2. And I'll just pause here and say that is substantial savings, insurance savings for all of us who live here. And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but a Class 2 is the highest rating you can have without public water. Is that right?
That's what
I'm pretty
causing us issue, water and people started getting us from getting one, from what we're told. So.
And whereas the North Carolina Association of Fire Chiefs has recognized Fire Chief Chris Johnson with an award of the 2025 Fire Chief of the Year for our state for his exemplary work in fire safety, and whereas the people of Summerfield greatly benefit from Chief Johnson's community involvement that includes having community events held at the fire station, such as an award-winning kids summer camp, Stop, Drop, and Roll, the 5K, Stop, Drop, and Roll 5K, Trunk or Treat, Santa at the Station, and the Town of Summerfield's Founders Day activities, which these guys carry in a major load with Founders Day, and we're very appreciative. Now therefore be it proclaimed that on behalf of the citizens of the Town of Summerfield, the Town of Summerfield hereby officially recognizes, commends, and thanks Fire Chief Chris Johnson for his outstanding service rendered to the Town of Summerfield. Will you join me in thanking Chief Johnson? Chief Johnson and these guys don't hear that enough. So I'm going to move over and let you get some pictures with just him and all these firemen here, and then we'll invite the council if they'd like to come around, and we'll all get a picture with Chief Johnson.
So they got to get closer.
Yeah, close ranks, guys. Close ranks.
Don't even friendly.
That's fine, I'll take it for everybody else at this point.
Okay, now if the council wants to get in, before y'all leave, let's give the council opportunity to get in.
If I get up front.
All right, yes.
Way to go, Chris.
Woo! All right.
Thank you. Hey, let's hear it again for Chief Johnson.
And thank all of y'all, and really thank these men and women behind me. They are the true reason that keeps us as safe as we can. Everybody in the community.
We'll move on to item number 6, emergency services reports. Item A, the Summerfield Fire District.
Summerfield Fire District reports the following for January: fire-related calls 24, EMS-related calls 66, all other calls 46, for a total of 136 calls. 6 child safety seats were installed. February fire-related calls 15, EMS-related calls 64, other calls 45, total calls were 124, and 6 child safety seats were installed. The Guilford County Sheriff's Department report for January was 198 calls, 14 cases reported, and February 112 calls, 14 cases reported. 3 stolen vehicles from Greensboro and Eaton were located throughout the month near Circle Inn Motel Home Park on Summerfield Road. Deputies worked with the Greensboro and Eaton Police Departments to identify the juvenile offenders involved and determine that the vehicles were used to commit other crimes. The investigation is ongoing and multiple charges are forthcoming. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Item number 7, town activity reports for the council. Any board or committee members here like to make a public report? Okay. Financial reports. Any discussions on the financial report? Okay. Item number 8 will be a public hearing for the rezoning of RZ-07-2024, request to rezone 5 acres located at 1930 Scalesville Road from AG agricultural to RS residential. Guilford County tax parcel is number 147755. So we'll hear the staff report on the matter.
My apology for old knees. Good evening. My name is Michael Harvey. I am a planner within Focus who is providing the town with planning assistance, supporting your planning director, Mr. Justin Snyder. And I am here this evening to present this item as Mr. Snyder is not available to attend. So what I'll be doing is providing a synopsis of the staff report as prepared by Mr. Snyder, answering any questions you have, and then responding to any questions from anyone in attendance. So first, as already been indicated, we are looking to rezone a 5-acre parcel of property located in 1930 Scalesville Road from agricultural, or AG, to residential, or RS. In this particular case, we have the applicant as Royce and Sharon Madden. Within your packet, you will note that they have a document indicating that Mr. Travis Robert Ullman, their son-in-law, is authorized to represent them both at this meeting and was authorized to represent them at the planning board meeting. In your packet, and as displayed on the wall, we have a copy of your current zoning map denoting the parcel is currently zoned agricultural. There is agricultural surrounding the property with RS zoning to the east. We also have the aerial photo. To break this request down succinctly, the applicant is interested in subdividing the property in order to develop an additional single-family residence, which they cannot do under the current AG, agricultural zoning designation, because the minimum lot size is 3 acres, and there's insufficient land area to allow for the division to occur. So they are seeking to rezone the property for the purpose of completing a subdivision of the property to allow for an additional residence to be constructed. In your staff report, which I will call to everyone's attention here, you are provided with Mr. Snyder's base information, property location, the character of the area. The parcel is currently developed, as you will note, with a single-family dwelling, and it is surrounded by single-family residential land uses. We have comments and responses to infrastructure and community facilities, which I will not summarize. They're there for your review. If you have questions, I'll respond. We have an environmental assessment. The topography of the lot is gently sloping. There are no regulated special flood hazard areas in this vicinity or on this property. It's not encumbered by the special flood hazard area. As such, it's in what's defined as an X zone per the flood insurance rate map effective for this property. The property is also not located in a water supply watershed. It is located within the Reedsville WS3 general watershed areas defined by the state. Mr. Snyder has provided you with a land use analysis, which I will quickly summarize. Per your current comprehensive plan, this area is located within low-density single-family residential area. Staff has highlighted 2 policy areas, specifically Policy Area 6, appropriate housing, residential development, and 2 policy goals concerning the development of single-family residential housing in your community. Within this same section, the staff provides a statement of reasonableness and consistency. I want to remind the board, you are obligated under your ordinance and state law to adopt a statement of reasonableness and consistency. Is this request consistent with your comprehensive plan? And if so, what components of it? And a statement of reasonableness. Is this reasonable and in the public interest? Per the staff report, the request was deemed to be consistent with the Summerfield Comprehensive Plan 2010, the designation of the area being low-density single-family residential, specifically referencing policies 6.1 and 6.2. Mr. Snyder has indicated if this is approved, there will be no need for a future land use map amendment or a comprehensive plan amendment. The statement of reasonableness that has been recommended to you all by your planning director. The proposed rezoning action is reasonable and in the public interest because it is an area where single-family residential uses are prevalent and will enable development in a manner consistent with the Unified Development Ordinance standards for single-family residential while still allowing slightly similar minimum lot sizes to accommodate an additional lot with minimal impact on public facilities. Now, as you will note, as prepared by the manager's office, you are going to be making a motion at the appropriate time to either rezone the property, finding that this request is consistent with the comp plan and is reasonable. Your staff has provided you the language which you're going to be using in making that motion and recommendation. If you do not believe it is consistent, you will need to identify why and make the motion accordingly. You also have the option under your ordinance to continue this matter to a date, time certain, adjournment, or defer it back to your planning board for further review. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Very well.
Does the representation of the applicant, would they like to make a comment or have anything to say? The representation in here?
Oh, no, sir. Nothing to add.
Okay, okay, thank you. Then this time we'll open our public hearing. If you're interested in making a public comment on this, you have 3 minutes. I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please fill out one of these sheets that can be found over there at the corner and let me know. I'm going to go through here and pull out the ones that already say comments on the planning and call on those folks. If there's anyone else who'd like to participate in the public hearing or be heard, please take opportunity to fill that out, and you can just pass it to Mr. Rollins and he'll pass it around. Kyle Stalls?
I'll go later.
Okay. So it's not on this actual?
No, not
Okay. Ms. Perryman, you had your hand up. Is it on
I
this
just
matter?
put agenda, but I need them for both, this and later.
Okay, then Teresa Perry.
I've been up here several times about this situation. I don't know how we're going to fix this. Y'all cannot approve this public hearing tonight, this rezoning. It is not correct on the statement per our comp plan, per our UDO, page 3-39. It plainly states, number 6, review and recommendation. You have to mention the comp plan. That statement is not, the comp plan statement is not in the consistent statement. You cannot do this rezoning. You somehow need to make sure that somebody's doing this correctly before we get it this far. And there's certain reasons with why is it in the public interest. And because where it's at, that's not one of the statements that you can use under that. I don't like the fact that they didn't put I don't like their suggested motion they gave for y'all. All it says is that we move and adopt and the rezoning request. You have to state what reasoning under the comp plan, what number, and you have to state under the public interest. I'll be glad to talk to anybody about this, but y'all need to go back and look at your UDO, Article 3, 3-39. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perryman. Dwayne Crawford.
Dwayne Crawford, 1106 NC Highway 150 West. Didn't plan on bringing this, I could plan on speaking on this, but when Teresa brought it to my attention, I have to agree that by town policy, the rules that regulate your authority to act require that the statement that you do have, because we've been through that motion before where we didn't have that statement signed by the planning board and in your hands before the meeting. That statement that you do have does not refer to the comp plan. I'm going to read the statement and I want you to tell me where it says comp plan. It says the planning board makes a recommendation to town council as follows. Planning board member Collier motion to recommend rezoning case, the one we're talking about, to council for approval as presented by the applicant because this rezoning action is reasonable and in the public interest. No comp plan mentioned. Because it is an area where the single-family residential uses are prevalent and it will enable development in a manner consistent with the UDO. It does say UDO, doesn't say comp plan. And I can keep on going, but the comp plan is not mentioned in that statement as required by your ordinance. And without the authority that your ordinance requires, you guys got to postpone this and do it again. Thank you. It's not discretionary. You don't have discretion.
Anyone else have a comment for the public hearing? So now I will publicly close the public hearing. I will close the public hearing, and we'll take this matter up with the council. Mr. Rollins, every one of these that's ever been done, as long as I've been doing this, does have that verbiage when the motion is made. But I believe to that end, since the Planning and Zoning Committee has met, we do have their document here, and the vote was unanimous, right, Mr. Fuller? This is merely a recommendation to the council with no particular wording required. And we also have the staff report, and it says very clearly, staff recommends approval of the request. So I'm going to ask you and Ms. Anderson, as long as someone here makes that motion and does include, as suggested, the comp plan and the UDO connection, as I think is required. I think they're correct. does that cover us to go ahead and be able to, these folks been waiting since January. But haste makes waste. We can't do something if it's not right. But I think our planning and zoning merely make a recommendation to us to pass it. So their motions and the things that they discuss are amongst them. They clearly made a recommendation to this body to, and then it's up to us to make the motion and vote on it. So I don't think it's too late to be able to cover those two, I would say, very important matters. Now that I've said that, do y'all agree or disagree?
I have the exact same question.
So out of an abundance of caution, and this was done before I was here, so out of an abundance of caution, you obviously have the option to send it back to the planning board and ask them to amend their language to include that. But as the governing body, you have the ability to make the decision, consider the plan, and reference the appropriate language if you so choose.
Do we have, can somebody here access that comprehensive plan, or Mr., forgive me, my name's Crawford. What article are you talking about in the comprehensive plan?
Well, I'm not talking about the comprehensive plan, I'm talking about your UDO ordinance.
You-
John,
Which says you must,
Mr. Hamilton, we can't engage. we
Well,
have to
Discussion
ask-
amongst the
That's
council.
fine. If I could then direct to the attorney, did you hear which part of the UDO that he was referencing?
I
If you didn't, it's
believe
okay, I missed
it was 3-39, but I do not have the UDO in front of me.
well, it would be in writing in the submittal.
I just want to see what it is myself before we.
Specific things in there that you have to reference when you make a motion. Very specific things. You have to reference. Here it is.
The planning board shall provide a written recommendation and address plan consistency.
So we're going to do Article 3.
Folks, I just ask you for your patience. If you give us a couple minutes, these folks have already been waiting 2 months. If there's a way that we can correctly get this handled tonight, then that's what we'd like to do.
Did you get a chance to look at it? I looked at it too, and, you know, it says to make a, whether it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and their recommendation that it's reasonable and in the public interest, while falls silent to that language, I think would be inclusive that they did agree that it was. There's no language in there to the contrary.
Yeah, in the past, it has specifically come from the list that's in the comp plan. You have to pick one or two things from that and say that it is in agreement with our UDO. No specifics have been required there that I remember from the past.
Yeah. So.
And I think that covers it. So Ms. Anderson has recommended out of abundance of caution to delay this another month unless someone here is interested and or willing to take on making the motion. Ms. Anderson?
So that's an option. The law requires you to consider the comp plan. I don't know what was considered at the planning board level. I don't have access to that. That's a question.
We have the chairman of our planning and zoning board here with us, as well as some members. Mr. Fullner, do you remember specifically the items that you guys discussed with regard to the comp plan and that it being in agreement with our UDO?
I don't remember specifically. Do we have a copy of the draft minutes from the January meeting? It should be in the draft minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
Get back to
It's in
7A.
yeah.
As a suggestion, Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney, might we make a motion to continue this, go on with our meeting while you all are looking into it, studying it, and if you can bring closure to this in a way that will be acceptable and legal, we can continue it later in the meeting. So we can move ahead with the meeting. Any input on that? Any discussion from the council?
I think whatever the pleasure of the board is appropriate.
Okay with you, Mr. Harvey?
Sir, I'm here to serve you in the capacity as your planning staff, so it's not up to me to say it's acceptable, not acceptable. Whatever your decision is, it's acceptable to me. So I'm going to support the council, whatever they decide to do.
Well, I do think we need verbiage from the comp plan. I think that they're correct. Unless someone else thinks differently.
Ms. Ashley, he recommending that we continue or the benefit caution talks.
I don't have enough information right now to give you an appropriate guidance.
But if it references, it says 6.1 and 6.2 on here, it just doesn't say what 6.1 and 6.2 is. Why can't we just make the motion and when we get to the 6.1 and 6.2, jump over and read 6.1 and 6.2? Because they say which ones, they just don't write them out in words. It also references the UDO ordinance. It says, is consistent with Unified Development Ordinance standards for single-family residential. I mean, it just doesn't give, it says 6.1 and 6.2, it just doesn't spell them out.
Well,
I have a copy of the draft minutes from planning board meeting in January, and it states that the recommendation for town council to rezone is reasonable in the public interest because the area where single-family resident homes are prevalent, and it will be enable development in a manner consistent with unified development ordinance standards for single-family residents while allowing slightly smaller minimum lot sizes to accommodate an additional lot within the minimal impact on public facilities.
Is there reference to comp plan there, Mr.
The
Ford?
next sentence does.
It does not
The next
Okay.
sentence does.
May I borrow that?
It's in,
It's
You
in
have
your
to use the
packet.
document you give it, not the
you
minute.
have it.
I was gonna give it to whoever would
It's
like to
in your
make it.
packet.
If y'all don't need it, then.
It's the same thing that's in our.
Actually, if I could say one thing real fast, this says, because this proposed rezoning action is reasonable in the public interest because it is an area where single-family residential uses are prevalent, and single-family homes, and that is specifically addressed in the comprehensive plan.
In 6.1.
So it looks as though that is consistent with the comprehensive plan based on trying to keep it where single-family residential uses are prevalent.
I think if you use that verbiage and articulate 6.1 and 6.2, and Councilperson Robinson has it here on her phone where you can say actually what those are and put that in your motion, I think we're good.
But you can't start the meeting until you have a proper document, and you don't have the proper
It
document.
says
we
low
do
density,
have-
single
we
family
do have-
residential. It's
We
word
do
for
have
word
the
the same.
letter from the planning and zoning.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Committee.
So-
mention new, complaint.
Y'all make a mistake.
So I'll make the motion.
Make a mistake.
I move that we approve and adopt the rezoning request RZ 072024, that it is reasonable and in the public interest, and for those reasons listed by the planning board in their recommendation, which is consistent with the Unified Development Ordinance. Let me read it exactly as it is. Standards for a single-family residential while still allowing slightly smaller minimum size lots to accommodate an additional lot with minimal impact on public facilities, which is also consistent with the comprehensive plan policy 6.1, where single-family residential uses are prevalent.
Mr. Mayor, if I could make a friendly suggestion.
Sure. I do have someone making a motion. I need to let Mr. Hampton, are you done, Mr. Hampton? or-
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you articulate 6.1 and 6.2?
Well, I said 6.1 and I'll add policy 6.2.
Can you just give us the title of those for the purpose of the motion to Mr. Hampton?
Yeah, it was from the I listed it was from the comprehensive plan, policy 6.1
You want to read the first sentence?
The heading.
and 6.2. A variety of housing types and sizes should be provided within the general bounds of large developments. And
Thank you. Thank you. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Before we open up to discussion from the council, we'll hear from Mr. Harvey.
I think it would be in the board's best interest to clarify the motion if you're moving forward as follows. That you find that this request is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan in that the request would allow for designation of low-density single-family residential consistent with policy 6.1. Residential development in Summerfield should remain mostly low-density, single-family detached housing. Appropriate instances for other housing forms, such as small attached and accessory housing, should also be fostered to meet the variety of housing needs. And in accordance with policy 6.2, a variety of housing types and sizes should be provided within the general bounds of large developments. I think your statement of reasonableness, as has already been read twice, should be that the proposed rezoning action is reasonable and in the public interest because it is an area where single-family residential uses are prevalent and will enable development in a manner consistent with the Unified Development Ordinance standards for single-family residential while still allowing slightly smaller minimum lot sizes to accommodate an additional lot width and minimal impact to public facilities. So you have a statement of consistency referencing goals policy 6.1 and 6.2 of your comprehensive plan, and you have your statement of reasonableness.
But it doesn't refer to the UDO.
Council's statement of reasonableness is conditional
Well,
upon
the-
having the proper document before they make that statement.
So, Mr. Hamilton, could you
Do that again, what he
please
said.
read?
Yeah, from memory, if you could.
We had that paper.
And you will have to assist me here, so where did you,
If you are moving forward with a motion and a second,
okay.
you should be indicating that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan for the reasons listed in the staff report as their recommendation, referencing policy 6.1 and policy 6.2, with those items read out. You then have to have a statement of reasonableness, which is also provided to you in the staff report.
UDO, I think you need that first part that you said, Mr. Hamilton, followed by the comprehensive plan. But the first part of what you said referenced the UDO.
Does
That
someone
was the
need,
reasonableness thing, the second part. He just put it in, he just did that after the comp plan.
So-
Comp plan and
You
then
just
UDO.
reversed that
we're
one.
going to have to hold my hand on this a little bit. So, does someone need to make a motion to,
We need, I guess, for you to state that you're accepting this as a friendly amendment and you're going to restate your motion.
so, I accept that, and I'm going to restate the motion, so that it's a friendly amendment. I move that we approve and adopt the rezoning request RZ-07-2024, that it is reasonable and in the public interest, that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan for the reasons listed by the planning board in their recommendations, specifically policy 6.1 and 6.2 of the comprehensive plan, and that it is a residential development in Summerfield, which remains mostly low-density, single-family detached housing. Appropriate instances for other housing forms, such as small attached and accessory housing, should also be fostered to meet a variety of housing needs, as well as, correct, so far? As well as policy 6.2, which requires a variety of housing types and sizes should be provided within the general bounds of large developments. And that it is reasonable for the same reasons listed in the staff report, which include that the proposed rezoning action is reasonable and in the public interest because it is in an area where single-family residential uses are prevalent, and it will enable development in a manner consistent with Unified Development Ordinance standards for single-family residential, while still allowing slightly smaller minimum lot sizes to accommodate an additional lot with minimal impact on public facilities. So, I think that's the motion. All right.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion amongst the council?
Well, I think that it's a great idea to have extended family living close to you next door, and I think that's part of what small town is about, and rural with family support. I think as a council, we have looked at policies that weren't followed before and call people out for it, so I can't support this until we get it right. We can't change a policy or bend a policy. Well, I'm terribly sorry, I can't support it.
I think the only difference in what he read is that he read out 6.1 and 6.2. It states in the packet 6.1, 6.2. It just didn't write out what 6.1 and 6.2 are. I don't know that it says in the policy that it mentions the UDO, it mentions the comp plan, and it mentions the specific numbers in the comp plan. It just didn't write them out. And I don't think that the policy says they have to be written out. So I think we're good.
And while the statement from the planning board doesn't specifically say the words comprehensive plan, the language is reflective of the substance that you would find in it.
Ms. Anderson, have you had a chance to divulge or critique, think about, have few minutes. Can you make any type of recommendations now? Or can I make a recommendation? We have a special call meeting in a couple of days and get this rectified.
That's certainly an option.
So we could defer consideration?
Absolutely. As Michael mentioned, one of the options is to punt this to a date certain time in the future, essentially having another public hearing.
Next Tuesday?
Mr. Van,
If we continue it, I think we've already had the public hearing. If we
Continue
continue
the-
it, we
right.
just come back and
Mr. Manager, what do you think?
I think I'd follow the advice of legal counsel, and just to make it clean, a special meeting, I think would probably be the cleanest. That way we have it, all the Ts crossed and all the Is dotted.
And if they give us a new statement that's inclusive of that language, does that require though another, public speak?
we're just continuing.
Okay.
We're continuing. We would pick up from where we are here and go forward.
And of course, I think what Mr. Crawford has argued before is, particularly the October 2023 text amendment, I think that's what he was referencing earlier, this is just like that. I think he's saying, and he has said before, that if it's not correct, then you can't even start the meeting until it's correct. So if we decide that it's not correct, I think that would be a half measure rather than a full measure.
Well, if that is determined, we would have to renotice the public hearing and start over from the beginning.
Ms. Anderson, one more question. Does the planning board, is their statement okay as long as we have all of our ducks in a row in our motion? Or do they need
It's
to have?
difficult for me to comment on the planning board's meeting when I don't have the minutes in front of me. I wasn't there, and I hate to give you a rash
Right.
judgment call
Sure.
without all the information.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm in favor of town policy motion A, defer consideration on the specific topic to a later time, which would hopefully be a special call meeting in the very, very near future.
It has to be a date, time certain, because you've already adjourned the public hearing. You would have to select a date, time certain to retake
Okay.
this matter up.
Friday, March 14th at 3 o'clock,
I cannot do that.
4 o'clock.
Mine would have to be later. I could do after 4, say at 4:30 or after.
4:30.
We just need a majority of council. I'm in Asheville for a funeral.
I can be there.
I can be there.
I can be there.
What time,
Did you say you could be there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll have a special call.
I believe you can, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you can just recess until
recess.
Friday at 4:30.
Okay, recess.
And at the end of tonight's meeting, you can recess until then.
And then continue this meeting on the 14th.
Yes, sir.
And then you don't have to renotice it? Or
No,
do you
we
have time?
don't have to do any special, you know,
Okay.
the public is here, the media is here, and they will know. So you'll recess tonight, you will not do a motion to adjourn, would be the proper way to do it.
Okay.
And of course, Ms. Anderson, if it looks as though that it was done correctly, then you'll have to contact us too to let us know, because it would have to be renoticed if it was
Improper.
improper, yeah.
Correct.
We have
Any other discussion?
We have a second.
We had a motion and a second, so we're just going to fail that motion.
Can we
Yeah,
withdraw
I'm
this?
just, I'm qualified. Is there any other discussion at this point? And I'm gonna have to ask, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson, I got a motion and I have a second.
So vote.
How do I dispose of that? I can,
24.
I can call the question. But if everybody,
You can call the question, or the member making the motion can withdraw.
I'll withdraw it.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'll withdraw it.
Withdraw it? Okay. And that's good? I've never done that before.
That's fine.
That's good?
Tim, could I have my papers back?
Was this your paper?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you.
These two.
That's the only one I got. Okay. Item number 9, public comments and responses. If you sign up for public comments, please come up, give us your name and your address, and then your 3 minutes will begin. We'll begin with Mr. Shaw.
Kyle Stahl, 7823 Wilson Farm Road. This will be really quick. I just wanted to thank the leadership in the town for the thank you luncheon that we had a few months ago. Thought that was great. It was good to see so many people came out and really get an idea of how many hands have been involved in just, keeping things running over the last few months, and how many citizens were willing to come out and dedicate their time and their energy and their backs to working on things. And also just wanted to mention, I'm with the planning board, and at our last meeting, it was mentioned that we may have public comments as part of planning board meetings in the future. General comments, if you have concerns over planning or zoning, if you haven't gotten your fill of that in the last few minutes, you're welcome. Reach out to the planning board and just, express whether or not you would be supportive or interested in that. So this is just another venue for citizens to come out and, have a few minutes to discuss things. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stahl. Gail Dunham.
Gail Dunham, 5805 Stowe Hill Drive. Thank you to the zoning to reinstate the miscellaneous minutes that they offered at the end of the meeting. I'm glad to see that back on their agenda. Couple of things, just general. I think it's time to retire the banners on the light poles. It's expensive. They get torn. It's a safety distraction. And town employees on 12 and 14-foot ladders to fix them at time to time is probably not a good idea. I requested a full disclosure of all contracts with Freeze and Nichols. I don't think you even realize how much money you've given these consultants. I would ask that you avoid any appearance of conflict of interest, whatever it might be. Just avoid any possible conflict of interest. And at the January 2025 meeting, the council and manager decided to deliberately withhold the plan to create a separate maintenance department. They decided that the lecture would be good enough, and I don't think that it was. We had nothing in, you all had it, but the public had nothing, and we still don't have anything. There's a lot of questions about this. It's a lot of money. It's a major thing that you're going to double the town employees, that you're going to double the taxing and spending. I think you have to go along with this. There's 5 pages of budget amendments. And there was never a public time for anyone in the public to ask questions, and people would have a lot to offer. I think you should have a list of all the town properties. I don't think you're even aware, and some of them could be handled differently. You never talked about the contract. There was no math 101. The town's not the federal government. I am requesting that you hold a public hearing for budget amendments with reflecting these 5 pages, and a public hearing about what you're creating with in-house maintenance department, what it's going to cost. Give the public an opportunity with a public hearing to ask some questions. They might have some really good suggestions. We have a lot of smart people in the town, and they're not allowed to participate, and I think that's wrong. A list of all the town properties. So I'm requesting a public hearing for these budget amendments, and to discuss and to have accurate information. And be sure you give the citizens, I think it was definitely wrong to deliberately exclude us from the handout. Let's see, The comp plan, I strongly support the comp plan. I don't think it's that obsolete. It is the only document that had citizen participation. And with Bandera, I think it's time to get Bandera complete. Every week you're telling me how you're going to do it cheaper. Make Bandera the most important thing. And I'm totally opposed to this water tower on the aquifer.
Ms. Dunham, your time is up. Rachel Rayfield.
That's the other problem. We only got 3 minutes. You're not.
Ms. Dunham.
You're going to have a luncheon, but what we really should have like is the extra 2 minutes.
Ms. Dunham.
Rachel Rayfield, 7514 Whitaker Drive, Summerfield. As a taxpayer and resident of Summerfield, I have some questions that I'd like answered regarding the January 14th Town Council meeting.
Ma'am, would you hold up 1 second?
Sure.
I am so sorry.
You're fine.
Fastest 3 minutes I've
I mean, I talk kind of fast, but not that fast.
Well,
Closer to it.
I may have to.
Got a phone.
I'll just do it with my phone.
I can use my phone, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
I got it. I'm good. Sorry, Ms. Rachel, begin again.
Do I need to say my name and address again?
Oh, we got that.
Okay, good. Okay, regarding the January 14th council meeting, who gave the manager authorization to investigate the issues with the former staff? Why was the former staff never contacted regarding any of these allegations? Out of all of the possible contacts in the state, why was disgraced former state auditor Beth Wood chosen to do the investigation? How much did our town and our tax dollars go towards paying for this? Who contacted the media outlets prior to the January 14th meeting? Why were Mayor and Councilman Doggett not told of Ms. Wood or her report before the meeting? Why was Beth Wood allowed to make her presentation during a public meeting and not in a closed session? Regarding the February 4th special call meeting, is this investigation that was authorized then complete? When will us as the town hear of its findings? Our money paid for it, so we should know what the results are. And how much did all of this cost us? This money being spent is not the town council's money, it belongs to the citizens. Personally, I would like to stop spending money on attorney fees and frivolous investigations, but on items that would benefit our entire community. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think I may have it.
Okay. Beth Kaplan.
Beth Kaplan, 7979 Highfield Road. I was told on February 14th, 2024 that our former town manager's contract was unfair to the citizens of Summerfield. And then I was told, don't worry, we won't miss a beat. We are missing many beats. Since that time, our whole staff has resigned, our attorney resigned, our lobbyist resigned, our auditor resigned, and many of our volunteers have resigned. We are taking $120,000 from our fund balance to cover admin salaries for the rest of the year. That's over what we already budgeted. We have a witch hunt orchestrated against our former town manager and finance officer that appears to be headed up by our interim town manager and finance officer. We're going to have a finding on our audit because the same interim town manager finance officer seemed incapable of picking up the phone to discuss bank reconciliations with our former finance officer. The town has missed many beats with the de-annexation of almost 1,000 acres. The town will now stand by and watch the development being built with no control by the taxpayers of Summerfield. The town is missing beats with its inability to finish or even start any of its capital projects. And we think will be a good bet for future grants. All I see are tax dollars that we are spending with nothing to show. With proper leadership and vision, we could have been a success story on how our town moves on after facing tragedy. but that isn't happening. Instead, people respond to me about how sorry they are that I live in Summerfield. With proper leadership and vision, we could be moving forward in a positive and exciting way, but instead, the Council of Four is killing Summerfield. Thank you.
Leon Stokes.
Leon Stokes, 6911 Maynard Road. I'm a 25-year resident of Summerfield with 42 years in IT and software development. I'm here to address concerns about the recent preliminary audit of the town of Summerfield. According to firms like Robert Half, Indeed, and others, financial auditors require integrity, professionalism, attention to detail, and strong IT and math skills. During the council meeting on January 14, 2025, Beth Wood of GWI Tax and Accounting presented a preliminary report orally, followed by a written report on January 15th. And part of that oral presentation and in the written report, she claimed a June 10th, 2024 backup had 119,000 gigabytes less data than one from January 1st, 2024, calling file deletion the biggest issue. Anyone with basic IT knowledge would say 119 terabytes, not 119,000 gigabytes. Akin to saying an $85,000 truck cost $8,500,000. This suggests ignorance or an intent to exaggerate. The report lacks details, what kind of backups were made, storage locations, custody, details beyond, all of these are details beyond one day's audit scope. Yet it was made public without interviewing implicated employees or contacting the former IT contractor. Despite Wood admitting more investigation is needed, so why not wait for a full inquiry? If auditors need integrity, attention to detail, and IT skills, this report falls short. I ask, why publicize a sloppy, detail-lacking preliminary report? Why imply wrongdoing without proof or interviews? Why not consult the IT contractor about alleged deletions? Making this public was at best reckless and unprofessional, or worse, a vendetta to smear former employees. It is incomprehensible that the town's attorney at the time would approve making this report public, thus making defamation lawsuits possible. A competent approach would have been to privately assess the report and, if warranted, commission a thorough independent investigation and publicize only proven wrongdoing. Since this did not happen, I urge this council to commission an independent investigation based on its findings, either publicize proof of wrongdoing or exonerate and apologize to those implicated.
Sure. Judy Bastian.
Good evening. I'm Judy Bastian, 6101 Four Oaks Court. I've lived there since 2009. I am here because I care about Summerfield, and I was appalled to hear the specious allegations and behavior by certain members of the town council at the January town meeting. In the past, Summerfield has always been supported by its residents, staff, volunteers, and elected officials. I am here to acknowledge our friends and neighbors, the former staff, volunteers, and contractors who have worked so hard for Summerfield. What has happened? Since May 2024, there have been 24 departures. Volunteers: Clark Doggett, Planning Board member; Jane Doggett, Trails and Open Space member; Vicki Bridges, Finance Committee Chair; Alan Abrams, Finance Committee Chair; Bruce Peterson, History Committee Chair. Jim Butnow, History Committee Member. Gary Brown, History Committee Member. The late Trudy Whiteacre, Planning Board Member. She was not reappointed with no reason given. Kathy Rooney, Planning Board Member. Mark Brown, History Committee, Founders Day, Town ABC Liaison. Staff, Scott Whitaker, Town Manager. Jeff Goward, P&R Director. Brad Renz, Planning Director. Dee Hall, Finance Officer. Cheryl Gore, Events Coordinator, Assistant to the Town Manager. Sarah Tibbetts, Town Clerk. Daniel Bayer, Enforcement Officer. Rick Biggs, part-time P&R. Yeager Nance, part-time seasonal park employee. Tanner Nance, part-time seasonal park employee. Mason Winfrey, Deputy Town Clerk. He worked 1 month before leaving in February. Independent contractors, Bob Hornick, Town Attorney. Cynthia Randolph, CPA, the Auditor. And James Hoffman, Town Attorney. 24 people who worked so hard for this town, and it's got to change. It's gone on too long, and I mean, when people hear I'm from Summerfield, they have that look of they're so sorry, and I don't like it. And you are stewards of this town, and I look forward to more transparency, more public comments, listening to the citizens who have important historical information and can help you be good stewards. So thank you for being an elected official, and I look forward to progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Church, Brown.
Church Brown, 6204 Morse Creek Drive. Summerfield Town Council's Majority 4, Jonathan Hamilton, Linda Vaney, Janelle Robinson, and Heath Clay, are an embarrassment as they have prioritized personal vendetta over the town's well-being. Instead of governing responsibly, they have engaged in relentless character attacks on former town manager Scott Whitaker and finance officer Dee Hall. In February 24, the Majority 4 decided not to renew Scott Whitaker's contract, despite Scott's 12 years of dedicated service to the town. Claiming they found a loophole in his contract, the Majority 4 forced Whitaker to take legal action to negotiate a severance agreement. Only after months of wrangling and spending thousands of taxpayer dollars on attorneys was an agreement negotiated. The mistreatment of Whitaker triggered the resignation of all town staff. Rather than acknowledging the crisis and proving himself as a leader, Jonathan Hamilton issued a press release in which he arrogantly stated, and I quote, "I'm certain we won't skip a beat," end quote. During an August 23rd town council meeting, Hamilton also said, and I quote, "With the de-annexation, I feel as though that's more of a threat to be used as a bargaining tool. I don't know exactly how much fight he actually has. I am against David Couch," end quote. Thanks to the Majority 4's underestimation of Couch, our town lost 1,000 acres, lost control over how this acreage will be developed, and will forfeit an estimated $550,000 in annual revenue when the villages of Summerfield Farms is fully built out. In January, the council paid Dana Luther $125 an hour and disgraced State Auditor Beth Wood an undisclosed sum to conduct a baseless investigation into Whitaker and Hall. This has set the stage for counter lawsuits, certain to cost Summerfield taxpayers more money. Let me offer a few examples of character defamation of Scott Whitaker and Dee Hall by the Majority Council of 4, Twig Rollins and Dana Luther. 1. Twig Rollins has claimed that Dee Hall failed to pre-audit contracts. His direct quote is, and I quote, "I haven't found a pre-audit stamp on any contract that I've come across yet from the old administration," end of quote. This is a criminal allegation, and unbelievably, Hall's public records request for copies of any contract she had not pre-audited remains unfulfilled by the town. 2. During Beth Wood's January presentation, Linda Vaney asked, and I quote, "How do we get our money back?" End of quote. This, of course, assumes guilt without any proof. 3, Janelle Robinson and Dana Luther have accused Whitaker and Hall of withholding passwords when they left. This is incorrect, as the town's IT company confirmed Whitaker and Hall appropriately turned over all passwords and Apple IDs. There are many more examples I could reference, but I only get 3 minutes. In summary, this council, driven by revenge, is recklessly wasting taxpayer money, smearing dedicated public servants at the likely cost of counter lawsuits against the town, and ultimately endangering Summerfield's charter. Our town deserves better.
Patty Stokes.
My name is Patty Stokes, and I live at 6911 Maynard Road here in Summerfield. The agenda for a special called meeting on February 4th included item 3A, reviewing investigative auditing proposals from GWI Accounting, where Beth Wood, former state auditor and friend of town manager Twig Rollins, is a partner. However, Mr. Hamilton immediately proposed tabling it, stating, "I don't see any reason to go there yet until we have complete and accurate data." When pressed, he reiterated the need for a full picture before moving forward. Well, shouldn't there have been a full picture of complete and accurate data before Beth Wood presented findings from then interim town manager, finance officer, and disgruntled former employee Dana Luther at the January 14th council meeting? Using inflammatory and legally risky terms like sabotage and data deletion. Meanwhile, one of you contacted the media in advance to make sure they were here to cover the spectacle and broadcast the accusations against former town manager Scott Whitaker and finance officer Dean Hall. What's especially ironic to me is that Beth Wood and Twig Rollins have some pretty dark shadows in their own closets. In 2023, Beth Wood resigned as state auditor after being convicted of using a state-issued vehicle for personal use, including multiple trips to spas, shopping centers, and salons. A year earlier, she ran not into, but over a parked vehicle after attending a holiday party. And then she left the scene. She was convicted of hit and run, leaving the scene, property damage, and an infraction for unsafe movement. Rollins' professional background is riddled with red flags. 5 jobs in the last 5 years, and at least a dozen in the last 20. Ranging from mattress salesman, insurance salesman, deputy sheriff, emergency services worker, and most recently code enforcement officer for about 1.5 years, county planner for 9 months, and finally manager of the tiny town of Magnolia, population 950, for just under 1.5 years. Notably, he did secure a 30% raise there within a year, and soon afterward began hunting for a new job. He just doesn't stay long. His financial history is equally concerning, with a string of judgments and liens for unpaid taxes, bad checks, debts to individuals, businesses, and the NC Department of Revenue, tax liens that were suddenly paid just days after he started working for the town of Summerfield. Despite this, Rollins' troubling professional and financial records were apparently deemed by some council members to be acceptable, while efforts to publicly tarnish Whitaker and Hall's reputations ramped up. So what's the deal? The only conclusion I can draw is that pride, arrogance, and anger have blinded you. The entire town staff under Whitaker so strongly believed that he was unjustly fired, and furthermore, that it was egregiously wrong for the majority of you to try to renege on the severance package he was entitled to per his employment contract, that every single one of them resigned last May. You didn't see it coming, and you've been on a witch hunt ever since. You've also left the doors wide open for a defamation lawsuit.
Pam Topernall.
Pam Topernall, 6800.
Pam, I'm sorry, could you pull that mic down? I'm having a little trouble hearing. Thank you.
How's that?
That's better.
Pam Topernall, 6800 Brookbank Road, Summerfield. I'm just flabbergasted with just hearing what Patty said. When I learned what was paid to our town attorney for just 2 months, I was really curious about what the rest of the legal fees look like. From April through June of 2024, just 3 months, the town wrote checks to lawyers totaling $195,391.50. $130,100 of that was paid to our now departed town attorney, Jim Hoffman. He charged the town $3.75 an hour with no limit. Talk about a contract not being favorable to the town. I wonder who negotiated that contract. From a PRR, I gathered the following information regarding the town's legal costs. These are not annual costs, but the town paid these amounts from April through June of 2024 to 8 law firms. There's a 9th law firm, but I'll address the cost of that later. The town of Summerfield paid $195,391.50, as I've said. $130,100 to Jim Hoffman, town attorney. Ramseur Maltsby, $21,975. Maynard Nexon, $19,937.50. Nelson, Mullins, Briley, and Scarborough, $6,525. Elliott, Morgan, Parsonage, $5,000. Constangy, I believe is his name, Brooks, Smith, and Prophet, $4,520. And Wamblewan and Dixon, $750 for land planning related to the de-annexation. And finally, $6,584 was paid to Bob Hornick, our town attorney, until April. And number 9, Robinson, Bradshaw, and Hanson. They were hired for an evaluation of the legal rights in acquiring 1,000 acres that we lost during the de-annexation. To date, council has neither disclosed their costs at the time they were hired, nor have they reported on the cost to date. Is this inquiry ongoing? Have they finished? If so, what was the results? Or how much longer is it going to go on? How much more is it going to cost the town? It should be noted that Councilman John Doggett did vote against hiring this law firm. Why should anyone have to submit a PRR to find out how our money is being spent and for what? For fiscal year 2022 through 23, the proposed budget for contracted legal fees was $125,000. And that's all.
Thank you.
Chad Rader.
Hi, my name is Chad Rader, 5403 Centerfield Road, Summerfield. I came to the last town council meeting a couple months ago with a couple purposes. One was to share my appreciation of some of the progress that had been made at that time before we had a maintenance committee on the park. Specifically, it was about Summerfield Community Park behind us. And then also, of course, I was there wanting to get citizen involvement, and with whether it's the Open Trail or Open Spaces and Trails Committee was the request, or some other way, especially considering the amount of the deforestation that had happened across the street. And seeing all of that going on, wanted to intervene. Now I will say, I'm very pleased that we haven't cut down a bunch more of the park since the last time we were here. But, you know, obviously there's no action yet on getting citizen involvement, and I was told that our town manager did not want citizen involvement for that because it would get in the way of work. I asked for anything beyond base condition, which means major changes like cutting down significant portions, not just doing things like repainting, something that needed maintenance. So my request back again is, please, it seemed to have a positive response last time, but again, no action. So I'd like to ask for that. Now, I would be remiss, having witnessed what I saw last town's council. I was shocked as a citizen coming in. It was incensing to see everything that happened. So whether it was ramrodding through bigger government, commitment to taxes, town council members didn't know about all the maintenance department that was going to be brought in. Felt like it was just bullied through. Requests to have more time, but no, we got to do it now. We've already got people lined up to get hired. We got to go. We got to go. We got to get a bigger, bring in everybody to create a more urban environment so we can have big giant baseball tournaments here, and more traffic, and more people, and spend more money. And that was disappointing. That was very disappointing to see the town council not take a step back and keep things. I thought I elected some of you for keeping things rural, and here we are, go, go, go. If it's about bigger government and more commitment to need to spend more tax money, why don't we do something like just be transparent and let us know? Now, the other part I was flabbergasted, and let us know that this is about not being a paper town, it's about making us look better. I'm running out of time, but I was flabbergasted. You've heard all the part around we got a convicted criminal coming and doing an audit of our town who's violated our ethics. And I mean, I remember all that on the national and state news, and that's embarrassing. And then in summary, I mean, basically, you got the 1,000 acres is gone. So why don't we focus forward instead of backwards? Why are we going after blame? Why are we trying to blame shift? It's gone. Let's move forward. Let's look to the future. I need you guys. You're here to lead us. You're here to take us to saving our town. Okay? We've got the rest of the town to save, and the vultures are circling. They want to annex. They want to take it. So please do what you were elected to do and lead us forward, not backwards. Thank you.
Mr. Rader. Emily Rader.
Well, y'all, I am Emily Rader, and I live at 5403 Summerfield Road. I've been there since 2004. On January 14th, 2025, at the town meeting, Beth Wood advised the council, put your policy and procedures in place to protect the town against the kinds of things I'm reporting to you here tonight. Afterwards, in the same meeting, Mr. Rollins and Mr. Coon stood before you and sold you a new in-house maintenance department. The council adopted it on the spot without giving citizens a voice in the matter. What's more is the town manager and council ignored Beth Wood's advice about creating and implementing sound policies and procedures. There was no discussion of maintenance policy and procedure that night. During citizen comments on 1/14/25, my husband requested the community park be returned to citizen oversight. A few days after the meeting, Mr. Doggett was respectful enough to inform us that Mr. Rollins resisted returning the park to citizen oversight because Mr. Rollins didn't want to get permission from citizens every time he wanted to paint a wall. I assert there is a difference between maintenance and projects. Any facilities manager will assert the same. Going beyond base condition maintenance should rightly involve citizen input. Without accountability and proper policy outline, our new maintenance department is ripe for mismanagement, financial corruption, and ethics violations. Back in December, Mr. Rollins and Mr. Coon failed to consult with citizens, committees, knowledgeable professionals, and environmental agencies before clearing the park of native plant species and wildlife habitat. It was mismanagement. But the council majority chose to protect the new town manager from scrutiny instead of heeding the voices of the citizens they were elected to represent. An experienced town manager would know not to conduct projects in this manner. In February 2024, when the council majority ended our town's contract with Scott Whitaker, Mr. Clay said he felt that Whitaker's contract was unfair to the town. We were not given specific reasons why it was considered unfair. Considering Mr. Rollins' failure to follow Beth Wood's advice on the importance of policy implementation, his resistance to citizen engagement, and his mismanagement of the natural passive park, citizens deserve to review Mr. Rollins' resume to determine if his contract is fair to us. On behalf of the citizens of Summerfield, I request Mr. Rollins and the council share his resume with citizens so that all questions about his competency, experience, and education can be answered and dispelled. We deserve transparency. Thank you.
Lexi Klein.
Lexi Klein, 7966 Highfield Road. I'm sure most of the people in here know that I'm John Doggett's daughter, but I'm just going to clarify that because Jonathan Hamilton wants to bring it up every time he addresses me after my public comment, so I thought I would get that out of the way so he could actually address the things that I'm saying. I do just want to also add that constantly harping upon my relationship to Councilman Doggett is a poor and obvious way to sidestep the issues that I continue to bring to the attention of the council, but I'm going to get to the real reason I'm standing up and speaking out today. It may come as a surprise to many of you, but government cannot function when transparency is treated as optional. It's not a privilege for a select few. It's a fundamental requirement for every elected official sitting in the room. Yet, time and time again, we see situations where some members of this council are left out of discussions, denied critical context, and expected to vote on issues without full access to the information that they need. That is not governance, that is manipulation, and that is completely unacceptable. Every single council member here was elected by the people of Summerfield. And when you deliberately sideline one of your colleagues, you're not just dismissing them, you're silencing the voices of the residents who put them in this seat. That is a direct insult to the democratic process and to the people you claim to serve. You don't have to like every council member sitting here. In fact, I know that many of you don't always get along, and that's fine. You don't have to agree with them, but you do have a duty and obligation to respect the fact that they too were chosen by the voters. And by extension, their voices deserve to be heard, their perspectives deserve to be considered, and their access to critical information must be equal to everyone else's. Governing behind closed doors, withholding information, or making decisions in silos does nothing but breed distrust and dysfunction. And let's be clear, a fractured council does not just hurt the officials, it hurts the people of this town. If decisions are being made with only partial input, then those decisions do not reflect the will of the people. They reflect the will of a few. That is not democracy, that is not transparency, and that is not acceptable. Some might argue that not every discussion needs to involve every council member, that sometimes certain issues require a limited scope of involvement. But here's the problem. When those limitations become habitual, when the same voices are consistently excluded, it stops being about efficiency and starts being about control. And that is not how representative government should function. The residents of Summerfield deserve a council that works for them, not one that plays political games or picks and chooses who gets to be informed. The people are watching, and they expect better.
Teresa Perryman.
Hi, Teresa Perryman, 7401 Greenlawn Drive. I was up here also in January, and I would requested that y'all investigate to what happened to my $1,500 on that fee schedule. And I just wanted to update y'all on what I've heard, because I think my statement is please don't tell me, we'll look into it. So I want to update y'all, let y'all know what I've heard since then. I think y'all get the point now. I really would like to know what happened to my $1,500. I still want my fee schedule heard, and I would like for it to be done soon. And the second thing was the $1,500 and the ANY Trail. Again, if it's going to be eminent domain, in 2013, when it first came to council, they said, we will start this if it doesn't take eminent domain. I hope y'all still will consider that, and it be no eminent domain on this trail. I don't think that's going to be, I think you're going to end up having to do eminent domain, so I hope y'all don't, and just go on to the next project. Thank you.
This concludes everyone I have signed up for public comments.
Definitely. I was going to speak, but I've been inspired.
Danny Nelson.
name is Danny Nelson, 2500 Pleasant Ridge Road. I wasn't going to speak, I'm not a good public speaker, but we got a group of people here that knows me, knows of me, and people make comments. Danny, what are you going to do next with the town of Summerfield? Now they're on a different side. Everything's been against the other left staff. I knew the staff, I worked with the staff. I was here before the staff, the old staff come. As soon as it left, I jumped in. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got evidence in my phone, and I'm going to withhold it until you get this so-called threat of a lawsuit coming. Because I got evidence that shows y'all don't know what you're talking about. What a great staff we had. I jumped in. Ms. Stokes, you've thanked me many times for what I was doing. The Veterans Memorial, the Town Hall, no end to it. And then you get up here, talk about how great it was. I went down there, I've seen the results. My tax dollars that all these people talking about has been paying for a bunch of people in the previous staff that I've personally witnessed when I jumped in as a volunteer to see what a sorry job they was doing with my tax dollars. And our town manager should have been overseeing all that. He didn't. The parks director, he should have been making his guys get up and pick up these parks and do all this other stuff. And like I say, I'm not going to reveal the evidence because you're threatening a lawsuit. But I'll certainly produce it when the time comes. It was left in a mess. And I have heard, quote, Miss D. Hall, it's in perfect condition. You should have walked to the park after they left. They've been sitting on their behinds over there somewhere, taking my tax dollars, having nice breaks, and collecting a regular salary. So evidently you don't know about it. Laugh at me all you want to. I may get booed out of here. But I've done seen it. I've lived it. You wouldn't want to live in your house on your property from what I seen and what I experienced and what I dealt with when the previous town staff left here. And I'm going to tell you, I seen it. I've got it. I know it. So brag all you want to. We did start over, and y'all don't like it. All you want to do is just praise the people that didn't do the job. I lived it. I seen it. I'm going to stand by it, and I'll keep it. And when the time comes, I'll show it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Mike Crawford.
Dwayne Crawford, 1106 NC Highway 150 West. I want to respond to a bunch of things, but there's been too many things said. There's just too many things to talk about. So I'll start this way. Just because they say it doesn't make it true. And just because they say it doesn't mean they told you the whole thing. One thing I'll touch on, I would touch on just a couple of things. It talked about the manager not getting his severance. Well, per the contract, it was in there, 100% agreed. But didn't that contract expire? When a contract expires, is it still enforceable? No. So, was he due the severance? Per contract, it was dead. So, no, he wasn't due. Did a lot of talk about past this. We'll talk about Scott Whitaker in particular. You see me get up here, and I'm sorry for the people that have to wait. I don't like making people wait because of that rezoning thing that didn't happen today. But I'm a stickler for the rules. Rules have to apply. Even if you don't like me, even if I don't like you, the rules need to be applied equally, and they need to be applied as written. Go back to your October 2010 rezoning, the commercial rezoning for the David Couch property. I challenge anybody to go back and find where that rezoning cited the recently adopted comprehensive plan. It did not. It did not. Mr. Whitaker knew that. He tried to amend it at the following meeting after the rezoning was complete. After that was done, he went back and asked our council to adopt a statement that said it was pursuant. That's illegal. He can't do that. Scott Whitaker's not everything that some of these people make him out to be. There's a lot more to that Scott Whitaker than you're being told here. I'm going to stop right there and finish with this. I wanted to say this earlier, but it's a little too late now, but I think you should have probably pushed that rezoning tonight back to the planning board, which our town planner said was an option for you to do. And that way the town planning board could complete the document that had all the required statements, give it to you, and there would be no way to challenge that. I think that would have been the appropriate thing to do. Thank you.
Don Wendelken.
Don Wendelken, 3406 Windswept Drive. Heavenly Father, I just pray for everybody here. Everybody's got an issue, a problem, dislikes. But Lord, you can straighten it out. You just need to wake all of us up, those for, those against. Moving on, the 1,000 acres. I hear it quite often. That 1,000 acres was gone before this new council got in place. The mayor was there, he was trying to work it out, and the old council was trying to work it out. All the meetings before all this, and David said, I'm done, and he went to Phil Burker. It was done. You can keep blaming the Council of Four, as I keep hearing and seeing places. That's not the case. This has been going on for years, but it's okay. You want to blame someone, you need to look in the rearview mirror. That's what I would say. Second thing, elections, they do have consequences. Staff changes occur, and I'll go immediately, whether you like Trump or not. As soon as he went in office, what are they doing? Him and Elon. They're fixing things. They're getting rid of people that don't go along what they want. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to do that. I'm just saying, when you have new people in charge, it happens. So my simple answer is, you got to get over it. You may not like how it goes, but that's just the way it goes. Politics is politics. This town does not belong to one group or the other. It's Summerfield. We can do all the personal attacks we want here. It don't do a bit of good. Now you want to wait till the final audit review that everybody's mad about. Was it handled right? Town attorney said it was okay, so legal said okay. So who do you want to blame for that? You can blame anybody you want, but if legal counsel was conferred and they agreed, they said let's do it, then that's the way it goes. So I would say whenever that final audit review, if nothing comes back, so be it. Then it's clean, then we move on. And there's the threats of defamation, whatever it might be. It takes a lot to prove stuff like that. Comments are made, politicians say a lot of things. Everybody up here said a whole bunch of things, very demeaning, very, very demeaning. But you know what? We all got to grow up and move on. So this is Summerfield. So good luck.
That concludes our public comments. We have time now for council, manager, attorney, as needed or necessary to respond to the comments.
I heard a couple times people talk about transparency, and I would recommend anyone that has questions about things that are going on, reach out to a council member and meet up at town hall and have a conversation about it.
Ms. Dunn.
It's one thing to say whatever you want on Facebook, but it's another thing to meet in person and have a conversation about it and ask your questions and give us the opportunity to answer your questions. If you don't reach out to us and ask us, and you just make assumptions about how we feel or what we think, I just don't think you're giving us the opportunity to be transparent. It's nice to finally see some people for the first time face to face. I don't believe we've ever even had a conversation or met or anything, but
we have.
I would love to
Facebook years ago and a couple.
Okay, well, I would love to sit down with those of you that have concerns, and I'm sure that anyone on council would meet with you at town hall in a public place, so there's nothing threatening or greasy about it. And for no reason, just to sit down and
strange messages. You were not transparent about what you wanted to discuss.
I'm open to discussing whatever you want to discuss, whatever questions you have or whatever you want to talk about. Let's meet up at town hall. It's a public place. There's other employees there. We can sit down at the conference table, at manager's office, wherever you want to meet. at town hall and have a conversation about it. So if you want transparency, I would challenge you to reach out to any of us and set up an appointment and let's talk about it. And a lot of these questions that were asked are great questions and we can answer them for you. I'm not hiding it, just you've never came and asked me the question. So you're welcome to do that.
Did Lynn get her information about the Eagles?
Miss Rader, I can't, it's not time, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not time for the audience now, it's time for the council to have opportunity to respond. Ms. Devane.
I wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
There were a lot of things that could be addressed, but the one other thing that stands out to me is that the mayor and Mr. Doggett did know in advance about the third-party auditor coming in to do it. So whoever's saying that they didn't know or that we left some counsel out, they did get a phone call about it, and they knew about it in advance. Would you like to, do you disagree? Or no, we don't have to.
I can speak to that, yeah.
Okay. You may not have known the depths of it, but you knew that someone was coming in to look
That's
over it.
exactly right.
Yeah, okay.
That's exactly
So
right.
to say they didn't know about it isn't true. I didn't know the depths of it either. None of us knew the depths of it. We just knew that a third-party person was coming in to look over everything. And they knew just like we did. You can, okay. John, did you know?
I knew that somebody was investigating. I didn't know anything about I asked about the report and was told that I'd find out the same time as everybody else.
Same.
Did you see the report ahead of time?
First
Did
time
you
I
see
saw
the
it,
report ahead of time?
first time I saw it, Councilman Robinson was when we were all got. In fact, he got it before me, and then I got it.
And
So-
they got it before me.
So we all found out about the report at the same time, and we all knew that a third party was going to come in and look over some things that were found. Or, I don't know, I don't even think it was that. We just knew someone was coming in to look over something. But I didn't know what was going to be looked over, just the same as Tim and John didn't. So we were all equally, none of us knew about any of that before the others.
Are you addressing me?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I have my, I can't.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Okay.
I'm just, in general, it's been said many times that they didn't know and they did know.
Okay.
I did not know what she was reviewing, what she was doing. On the day of the council meeting, I talked to Mr. Rollins 3 different times and went in his office and was told it was just the labor had something to do with overtime, and we get the report that night.
Then you knew more than me, because I didn't
know that.
I didn't know when the report
I'm
came
just
in. or
telling you what I was
anything.
told.
That-
Very little of what happened that Tuesday night had to do with overtime.
Okay.
May I speak now?
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Perryman, I know we can't have a conversation, that's fine. If you can get me your materials about I'm sorry, I forgot the name.
1500.
Yes, then I will try to look into that for you. Just be patient with me, but I will find the time to do it.
And actually, just so you know, I hadn't forgotten about that either, but we have a new attorney coming in, so that was on my to-do list to give to her so that she can do that stuff, because she is going to have to look into that. It's going to have to be town attorney involvement there. I didn't mean to cut you off if I did.
No, I just wanted to let Ms. Perryman know that I will try to be the front runner on that for her.
Also, there's a lot of familiar faces here tonight, and I've noticed there's a lot of hostility towards the current administration. There's been a real focus on exiting members, but not real acknowledgement of the incoming folks. And we've had some great people come in, and real excited about that. Charles Rollins here, Ashley Anderson, Terrence Johnson's on one of the committees, Robbie Gaines, and then a lot of folks stepped up. We had Don Delkin really did a lot of things for us when we needed folks. Danny Nelson, is he still here? Mm-hmm. Oh, there he is. He's just been a blessing. Priscilla Olenek, we had a lot of folks come in and help us, and I've noticed that the local media has focused more on the folks that has exited than those folks that stepped in, and every administration has changed, and I'm just happy for all of the new faces and the people that we've got. Really excited for it. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Council, manager, Ms. Anderson?
Oh, come on, Ms. Anderson, don't you want to? Welcome to Summerfield.
I would just like to say that, where we are as a town is a very difficult place, and it's very discouraging to see things in the state that they are in, and elections do have consequences, and I'm aware of that, and so I run this meeting every month. I sign the checks when they call me, but other than that, I don't participate because if I share an opinion, they're most likely to do the opposite of that opinion. I have asked before, and I will ask again respectfully to the majority of the council, where is the positive? Where is this going for the town and the residents and the citizens of Summerfield? You all have the ball, and you had an opportunity to hire all these new people, primarily because of the way Mr. Whitaker was treated and some of the staff were treated. They provided you this wonderful opportunity to employ new people and do good things and positive things for the town of Summerfield. And I would ask you again tonight, respectfully, to let that staff go. And talking about transparency from a council member to one person of the community is not a reflection of a joint transparency. But we have a responsibility to all the citizens of Summerfield to be transparent. Prior to this administration, when I wrote something on behalf of the town, I shared it with everyone before sending it out.
That's not true. No.
I did.
No, you didn't. You put out letters last time
I
without us ever.
I put out one letter
Okay.
in reference to misinformation that was being given out in the community.
Okay, so what you said wasn't true.
With the exception of that letter, every single letter I ever wrote, I asked for not only approval, but I asked for input from the council and subsequently took input from the council before sending those letters on behalf of the town. From a perspective of transparency, you all said during the campaign, this about transparency. I've been transparent about everything. The only things that I have not shared were the letters that the legal team said you should not release that at this time. And even when y'all made a fit about that, I said release them. I did not release them because I wanted to hide them. We were advised by council not to release them. So, I would encourage you all to share openly, share transparently, and I would also encourage you to, as Mr. Nelson said, that staff is gone. Good, bad, or indifferent. That staff is gone. Stop pursuing those people for whatever reason and let them go. And look forward and move forward with your agenda, with a positive agenda for our town. And I would encourage you and ask respectfully that you do that. All that we're doing here is promoting more legal situations and lawsuits. We all got a letter today telling us to preserve evidence in preparation for a defamation case. We all got that email. We should stop looking back. We should stop looking in this never-ending witch hunt. I do not think fraud will be found. I do not think embezzlement will be found. I do not think espionage will be found. Are people perfect? I don't think anybody here is perfect. People do make mistakes, but was there any criminal intent, any nefarious actions by those people? I don't think so. And I've stated that from the beginning. I would encourage you all to stop this IT forensic pursuit because it is getting ready to go to another level of expense. And we just continue to pour good money after bad. We are delaying the future of Summerfield, and the people of Summerfield deserve so much more than what is currently being delivered.
Mr. Mayor, were you referring to the council and every bit of that, giving us advice and instructions? To make sure. You were referring to us.
I'm talking about the whole situation.
Yeah, because you said let the staff go, but I don't know what you're talking about. Could you be a little more clear? What are we letting them go from?
Please move forward.
The pursuit.
Come on.
Pursue the what?
Yeah. You know, I'm not trying to get in the weeds of this, but if you want to, I will.
Okay, excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
trying
Mayor.
to be professional. I'm trying to say, just please stop. Y'all got the ball. Take it and go forward.
Stop
and do
with
good
what?
things for the town.
Stop. I'm being as serious as I can. Stop with what? I know. I mean, I feel like
When I start, the can is open.
Well, I mean,
and I'm trying not to call y'all out.
Okay.
I'm trying to offer you nice, respectful advice.
So
that's all this is.
So
Please
we
move
have
forward and let's get on with the
Of course, it looks as though to
Hey,
me.
excuse me, folks. Thank you. That's the council.
It looks as though to me that I think these are talking points that you're trying to get maybe some of your friends to parrot later on, because it's definitely not true. No one's trying to get anybody. But what we are trying to do is to make sure that we have data integrity, things that the courts have told the former administration are necessary for us to do.
Then, Mr. Hamilton, would you please tell us why we let Scott Whitaker go?
So,
Just answer that one question.
Mr. Mayor.
No, you do not have to do that.
So,
Mr. Mayor and council, please indulge me for a minute. May I caution you in your discussions right now could be used in any legal proceedings.
and I worry that Mr. Mayor
I said
is
the same thing in January.
trying to do that.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I do
I
want
was
to.
not.
So, Mr.
It's
Mayor,
very
I
obvious
have
I was
something
not.
on
Then why would you
different
ask a question that you know that we can't answer? You mean you're asking a question that you know
I
that
have
we're
the
not
floor
allowed to
now.
answer?
Ms. Devane.
Thank you. Okay, so we want to hear some positives about the town. So I've jotted down a list. It's all over the place. We've had volunteers to step up and help out wherever needed. One in particular volunteer is Jeff Bacon. He came in, he helped out, he's still there. He is amazing. He will do whatever we need. He's been helping with the PRRs because we know that they were behind, and he got them up. They're a little bit behind now, I think. I'm not sure where that is. But anyway, he leads an example of being a volunteer and giving to your community because you love it. Ms. Rader, I had a question about Eagles because someone else had asked me. I see her as an environmentalist. I reached out to her, she gave me the information, and I passed it to that person, so thank you very much. Jen Kelly is our new finance officer. She has a new program, and forgive me, I don't know, this is not my wheelhouse, but where one hand is talking to the other and it consolidates everything, and it makes everything easier for her to run her program, so we get better reports for us and you guys to see. Greg Fox, he jumped on board on the as the newest planning board member. Maria Adams has jumped on board for Founders Day. our past town attorney, his leaving, he went to DC to be number 2. That is a star in our crown for our citizens and how revered they are. We should be proud of him for being able to do that. And then we have a wonderful new town attorney, Ashley Anderson. Let's see, Bandera Park. That's so exciting. I think we have some good news to share for everyone in a little bit. I'm so excited about that. Jeanette Docker, she is bending over backwards, doing all kinds of stuff behind the scenes and helping with Founders Day and just whatever the needs are, she's just always there. She pops up. She's like a little fairy running around. Coon and his department, if you call that man, plan to be on the phone for 30 minutes because he loves his job, he loves what he's doing, and he cares about this town, and he cares about the kids and getting them in activities that are positive. Chief Johnson, we just acknowledged him tonight as Fireman of the Year in our small town. I mean, we do not think that might come from Charlotte or Mecklenburg County or somewhere else, but we have the #1 guy in our town. We should be so proud. Next April, I'm crossing my fingers and we should have it, due to some t-shirt design contest and community involvement. We're probably going to have 2 resolutions for youngsters in our community who have devoted their creativity and their time to our town as well. We need to be proud of that. We need to raise these kids up. Hands on Summerfield's coming up at the end of the month. That is an opportunity for all of us. Lay whatever is hard on your heart down and come out and work together. And I guarantee you, if you get with somebody you don't know, by the time you finish that project, you're going to be glad that you worked with them. And it's an opportunity for our, like I said earlier, our school and staff and council and everybody to work together. The men's group is very excited to help out. Okay, that's it. I'll stop there. Thank you. Just be
Thank
positive.
you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I do. Mr. Mayor, I wanted to clarify to make sure that you were not referring to the citizen input that they have every right to do and to give us, but you were referring, your address was to council. And let me say, I'm appalled at what you did. And I am in 100% disagreement in just about everything that you said. I've tried for over a year to work with you. You can shake your head, sir, but I'm beside myself right now on the lack of professionalism that you just showed.
Let's move on, please. Number 2.
Any other comments?
I agree with you, Mr. Clay, without a doubt. And I'll notice that, you know, the folks that are laughing, and there are people out here laughing, are folks that are not a fan of yours politically, Mr. Clay, or mine when they laugh. I do think there is, without a doubt, there is an echo chamber that has been tried to be used to amplify things to get the wrong narrative out. I do believe that 100%. The town, I am very excited about the administration we have. We've got a great administration. I'm very proud of the people we have, and I'm excited about it.
Any other comments? Item number 10, manager and council updates. Mr. Rollins, do you have anything there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Pleased to bring the manager's update. I have several items. First thing is the A&Y Trail. There's 5 permanent easements that is needed for this trail to come to fruition, and They have reached out to make contact with those 5 individuals. One property owner has agreed to work with the town on that. There's only 4 more needed to secure all the permanent easements. And that process is underway through Specialized Company Easement Assessment Company that is working on that. The second thing is Bandera, Mayor Pro Tem. I would let you let the cat out of the bag there, ma'am. But Bandera, we did value engineering. We had a subcommittee of Councilman Clay and Councilman Devaney. We met with all the different grant funding agencies and the engineers, and we were able to value engineer from $6.2 million to $4.6 million. We just got that email. We're expecting the construction documents this week, so it's getting very close to going out for RFPs in the next 90 days for Bandera. So that's exciting that project is moving forward. On the water project, we had some correspondence over the last month with the State Historic Preservation Office. They wanted to clarify that the integrity of the historic district was kept in place with a water tank being there, and I think we satisfied all their needs, so that project's moving forward. I also was party to a joint call with engineers firm from the AY Trail and the water, because there's some overlays where the projected trail would go and water lines, and they were coordinating to making sure that all that would happen, that we wouldn't disturb the ground twice if both projects go forward, so that's positive. Hands on Summerfield, I just want to say, we're meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning at the fire department. If you sign up, you're going to get details. We need you to sign up because you're going to get a t-shirt. The idea is you'll break up with a team leader. All the tools will be there. All we need is a good attitude and a cheerful mood to go out and beautify our beautiful community. Part of the projects are at the school, part of the projects over here. We've got a project for everybody. We'll break up, we'll go out for 3 or 4 hours, and then the fire department's been gracious enough to cook lunch for everybody. We'll have lunch, and you'll be dismissed. So I encourage you to please go to the town website. It's anybody from 12 years old or older. 12 years or older. So that, and if it's a child below the age of 16, they need a chaperone. Okay? So very excited about that. The signs, kind of where we're at the signs is we have a sign design company working. We're trying to get the signs on the right-of-way where we can get encroachment agreements with DOT. The reason being for that, buying land is expensive, then you got to add survey, and then you got to add easements and legal fees, and it's very expensive, and it's not the best placement of where we want the signs on entrances. So right now we're working with DOT on encroachment agreements, but they have a specific design. It has to be a breakaway sign. So we're working with the sign company on that, and they're looking at some materials and stuff to come up with that design. Hopefully, I'll have something by next month to present to council so that we can move forward with that will satisfy DOT and satisfy the vision of what those signs were. So that is making progress. The last thing is IT forensic audit. I've been asked by probably 20 people in the last 2 days. It's not done. They, as of yesterday, I was party to a call between our current IT vendor and the forensic IT company, and they were lining up to give them secure access to the server to continue to do their forensic audit of the system. They've been doing individual PCs and Macs, or trying to. Some of them they've had to try to what's called brute force. That is, we don't have passwords to some of them, and so it's a program that basically sits there and churns until it finds the password. It'll go through 100 million passwords, believe it or not. I didn't know that. So that project is moving forward. Hopefully it will be finished, and we'll have a report from them after legal counsel reviews anything at next month's meeting.
Do you need anything from us to give you, do you have, is the budget currently satisfied the need?
They did relay to me that currently they're getting to the top of their retainer. And so, there may be some consideration. Council wants to authorize some additional funds. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come back to you for them to complete that IT audit. But I don't have any results. Let me say that. I don't have any results of anything as of yet.
How much did we authorize in the last one?
10,000 was the retainer.
And this is to make sure that we have everything that the town is supposed to have.
that nothing has been deleted off of the system.
Okay.
And is part of the reason that they're running up, or a lot of the money's being used is because we don't have the right passwords and it's taking
That
long for the, I'm sorry, your word.
That is brute force,
Brute
that
force.
is, part of it will cost more money if they have to brute force, they have to put more time in it versus, I mean, you can just imagine rather than going and typing a password versus using the machinery and time to monitor that. And then the number of devices,
I'm assuming we've asked the employees for the passwords?
not directly.
This may be a,
Can we ask? Or did they leave the passwords when they left? Did they leave the passwords to their computers?
I don't have any passwords in my.
none that you've located.
Mr. Sessions, I thought at one point in time you said you would be able or might be able to get the passwords. Could you please do that?
I can ask. That's all I can do, is ask.
Do you mind asking?
No, I need to know specifically which ones and what you're talking about.
All the individual PCs and Macs that
And
the
the
employees
phones.
have.
And was the Apple ID or something?
And just get a comprehensive list of what you need down and let's get it. And then if we need to come back in here, we'll do that. But with that being said, I almost want to make sure that we don't have to keep coming back. Would you prefer to go ahead and have us authorize it in case you need it, if you can't get it, or do you want to just wait to come back?
Let me clarify, I don't need it, so.
No, I mean to complete the job that is to be done.
I'll throw this back at you, Councilman Hamilton. If you want the project to come to close sooner than later, it's better to go ahead and authorize additional funds.
Do you have an idea of how much?
I would say 5,000.
All right.
But y'all would need to authorize that with a motion like you did last month and for that to come out of fund balance. If that's
Is
y'all's
there
pleasure.
not something, Lord, I just looked at all these numbers. I thought on one of the line items there was like 14 something. From January, is there,
Okay, so that was what you're referring to, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, is that the auditing budget for the year, we had $14,000 left over after Mr. Brewer conducted his financial audit.
okay,
And the discussion was had, if my memory serves me correct, that if we needed to have Ms. Wood's firm, GWI, do further, that money could be taken out of. Her estimate was if she had to, or if y'all's pleasure was to continue on, that would be about $12,000. So the discussion was, there's money still in the budget to cover Ms. Wood, if you want her to take the next step. However, there was not money in the budget for the forensic IT audit. And you authorized $10,000 last month as a board,
but
as a retainer.
if we're not using this wood now and we have that line item in the budget, can we pull 5 from that and move it to that line
Sure you could.
item and not take it out of fund balance?
You could, you already have that for audit purposes. And if you have, depending on what this shows, something or nothing, you might need that for,
But it's 14, so that get us to 9, so.
what was provided to us last time was 12, I think.
12 was the estimate by GWI,
So
which
you
is
had
Ms.
to-
Wood's.
You had to pull out general fund balance if you decide to go with the additional audit.
I'm still rather pull it from the line.
I like that idea too, Lynn. And if we need more, to pull more over when we get to that step, then okay, but for now, it's already in the audit.
Mr. Rollins?
Whatever y'all's pleasure is, all I need is a motion to
So we'll
pull.
need a motion to move that. Well, Lynn, do you want to do that then? Make that motion?
But he's guessing at 5,000, so if it goes 6,000, we'll be right back here. Why don't we get an estimate before we start moving the money?
Let's get as much done as we can. If they're gonna be working till we see them next time, if it's more than
Keep
5,
going.
you know. So Lynn, if you want to go ahead and make the motion.
May I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
How much has been spent, do you know?
I just know his retainer was 10, and he told me he was getting close to it. He would soon go, that 10 would have to stop.
And what you said was he has been looking at the individual PC and now they're moving to the server?
Yes, sir.
And they're already at max, they've already spent?
Close to the max. Yes, sir.
And
And that includes the phone?
Yes. PCs and stuff.
is there estimated turnaround time that they provided, that if we provide additional funds, that they, another 2 weeks, 30 days?
30 days.
30 days? I don't wanna come back, like Mr. Doggett said, but I don't wanna be waiting around. He's already been out there. We gotta, Mr. Sessions' word, we gotta get this done and see where this thing goes so we can move on. I agree. I think I'm agreeing with it.
Which one, are we moving the money or are we from the?
I'm fine with moving.
So I make a motion that we move the money from the auditor line item to the IT line item. I don't know if I have those headers right. In the amount of $5,000 so we can move forward and hopefully close this out in 30 days.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second, further discussion?
I'm not comfortable doing this. We're spending money on stuff we don't know what the cost is, we don't know how far this is going, and we just keep spending money, and I'm not comfortable doing it.
And I can't imagine that we wouldn't vote to make sure we have everything. So.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
motion carries by majority.
Do you have other business, Mr. Manager?
No.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the AMI trail, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I've been bugging you. I thought that they were going to try to have the 5 people that we were going to have to get permanent easements from. I thought that those were going to try to be done by today. I know and I understand by you telling me, I think yesterday, that Jeff is with the fire department, at the fire department with the board tonight meeting, because that's one of the 5. So does that mean after tonight they've only met with 2? And when do they anticipate meeting with those other 3 residents?
So Jeff's been on vacation, so it's been a little slow on communication back and forth. He informed me that the assessment company was trying to make contact with those 5 property owners over the last week to 10 days. He sent me an updated email that they have been able to get the one that definitely said yes, they'll work with the town. The other 4, they were having issues getting lined up for a meeting, had not scheduled those meetings, one-on-one meetings. Just a point of clarification, we do not need the fire department to have this project to move forward.
Okay, thank you for.
I thought one of the permanent easements is on their property.
No, not on the fire departments.
Thank you for clarifying that. The other thing is, I know that we're, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're almost at 75% engineering.
Correct.
So, with that said, can we put a pause on that temporarily, not for a long time, maybe for 30 days, just so that we can get these meetings done?
That's a
Put the
question
pressure on them.
I really would like to ask the engineering firm what the connotations of putting that project on pause until we get an answer back.
These are big checks.
Will we get an answer before our next meeting, or by our next meeting?
I could probably have an answer by your recess meeting on Friday, assuming y'all do recess through that meeting on Friday to take care of this zoning issue.
So are they going to be able to meet with all 4 of those before Friday?
No, ma'am. Let me clarify. What I said was I would have an answer whether pausing, what the connotations of pausing the project until they met with the other 4 permanent landowners.
Are there other things happening simultaneously?
Yes, they're trying to get up with them and meet with
But I
them.
mean, other than that, is there anything else happening?
They're doing the engineering documents and moving forward behind the scenes. It's kind of a double effort One's trying to get the easements and the other one's moving ahead, with the engineering documents.
But those are huge checks.
Understood?
That's why it'd be nice to make sure, I think the worry, again, is that if it requires something like eminent domain, which I don't think anyone wants to do, we don't want to be spending money on them doing some things, while if we know that it won't come to fruition.
I understand what you're saying, Councilman Hamilton.
But we don't know until they actually talk with those other people.
And
So
that's
we're
why
supposed
I
to be,
kept asking for it to be done by today.
well, you can ask, but there's a reality in the ask. I mean,
I know.
Well, they had said they were gonna try to get us letters of intent by today. They had told us that. But they knew legally they couldn't have everything worked out, but they were gonna try to have letters of intent from each of the property owners by tonight.
is that right?
That is correct. They just haven't been able to get up with those those landowners to arrange a meeting to discuss about the permanent easement.
But if they only started 10 days ago, I'm not fussing at you, but if they only started 10 days ago, and you gotta work everybody's schedule, plus their own schedules where they're out of town or whatnot, they should have started in January when we asked, and they didn't. And that's another reason why I think we need to pause. I feel like we're doing everything that we said we would do. We're trying to get the citizens to be involved and speak. And, but I don't feel like I feel like they're pushing through no matter what, and I don't like it.
What can we do to encourage them to move forward?
Move forward with,
Property acquisition company meeting with the homeowners.
Yeah.
I will be on the phone tomorrow to express the board's displeasure at the pace that that's going.
Do you need further council support?
No, this time I just ask that you let me report back to you Friday, and I'll have an answer what the connotations of pausing the project is and what their response is to your displeasure at the speed of their trying to get those easements.
And I think that would be, it's just the focus should be there, because if it turns out we can't get them, then we need to really rethink things.
Let's do it. Let us know every day if you can.
Yes, sir.
That's all. Thank you.
Item number 11, old business.
Sorry, can I back up 1 second?
Sure.
So if I understand, water's moving, at this point, right now, water's moving forward, Bandera's moving forward, A&Y's moving forward. All those projects are moving forward right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
What about how much they cost?
We've,
Item number 11, old business. Hearing none, I'll move on to item number 12, new business. Item A, Mr. Rollins.
Pause for just a second, give Councilman Doggett a second. I would ask that I may call on Mr. Harvey to kick in on this particular item here in just a second. Just indulge Mr. Doggett for a second. On Senate Bill 382. Okay, so item 12B is a resolution opposing basically. 12A. I was looking at 12A is a resolution opposing Senate Bill 382, which is down zoning. That's the bill that our planner Justin Snyder gave y'all an update in January that we're watching that along with our planning partner in Focus Planning. That was a bill that was passed, an ominous bill, and it has great connotations to every town in North Carolina. And during that ominous bill, it was passed with a bunch of other stuff for hurricane relief. The people in the planning community feel like that if the legislature would have just considered that downzoning, they would not have passed it. So what this is a resolution opposing downzoning, and if approved, Mr. Mayor, the board approves this, then we would be able to forward this on to our state legislature saying we oppose downzoning and that particular bill.
Has other towns signed similar resolutions?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding there's a lot of towns in North Carolina that are doing resolutions very similar to this. Mr. Harvey.
Just for the board's edification, there's approximately, as of today, 23 to 24 special bills going before the General Assembly to either exempt county, because this affects counties, municipalities, this affects the application of zoning, period, for any unit of local government. I'll explain a little bit more about what it is in a minute, but right now you've got about 23 or 24 bills that have been filed to exempt specific counties and or municipalities. There is one bill that would repeal the standard. The resolution that you've been provided asks that either the amendment, or NCGS 160D 601D, be repealed or that you all be exempt from complying with this provision. Now, to remind you what this provision does, if you, as a unit of local government, are going to adopt a ordinance or map amendment that has the effect of downzoning property, changing land uses. If you have a property that's allowed 50 land uses, you rezone it, that property is now allowed 49 land uses. That violates the provision of this statute. You can't do it. It's not legal. If you alter the density of property, meaning you lower the, or you increase the minimum lot size requirement, so I as a property owner could subdivide property 3 times to create 3 lots, but because of a rezoning, I can only do it twice now. That is no longer consistent with the provision of state statute that was amended in December. You're also not allowed to create nonconformities without the consent of the aggrieved parties. So, if you're doing a wholesale rezoning in Summerfield, just to give you the example, you would need everybody's permission impacted by that rezoning to go forward. If you don't have it, you cannot go forward with that individual, but it also calls into question the legality of the request in general. There have always been downzoning provisions in the state statute concerning what units of local government can and cannot do. This takes it to a position where you can't move forward unless you have the acquiescence of all impacted property owners. And that is not, unfortunately, realistic. This would prevent units of local government from updating their table of permitted uses to address identified land uses that have become a concern. This prevents you all from implementing any updates to your comprehensive plan, creating new land use designations if it alters the permitted uses for the current district the property is located in without their permission. So many communities have adopted resolutions opposing this language, and as I indicated, there are several local bills and one bill of repeal that are being reviewed, and we will see what happens. This language that I'm reading here is consistent with a couple other communities I've seen, but obviously we were not involved in writing this, but I'm familiar with this verbiage. It's been used a lot by a lot of other communities. This does not reinvent the wheel, and I think that this does represent your concerns to the General Assembly appropriately, and I would encourage you to consider passage. as suggested by your management staff.
I have a question. So you said there's a bill to repeal and a bill to...
There is one bill to repeal the whole thing. There are about 23 or 24 individual bills to exempt counties and the municipalities in those counties, or municipalities specifically, from the provisions of 160D, 601D, which is the downzoning provision.
Is that something that Summerfield should, like, study on?
Or is Guilford County already part of it?
I believe Guilford County has submitted a bill, and you would be covered under that legislation, but I'm certainly not going to suggest you don't reach out to your state reps and have them insert a special bill for Summerfield.
Okay.
That's not a waste of time, in my view.
And that's in addition to Guilford County doing their...
You're just covering your bases, but yes, ma'am. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Guilford County's filed a bill, and I believe the bill would exempt municipalities in Guilford County. High Point, as an example, is located in 3 separate counties, so it's trying to coordinate to ensure that similar bills filed for all 3 counties, because it could mean that portions of High Point located in Randolph or Davidson would still be covered by the provision of the statute.
If we were to request, is it better to be exempted or repeal? Exempted?
I think you're hoping for repeal. I think that that's not practical. I think you need to take your next step and request exemption. I think you're adopting this resolution encouraging repeal or that you be exempt, and I think that's positive. But I think you all need to take steps to protect your community appropriately as you see fit with your state reps.
Okay.
I'm not convinced the Senate is going to repeal. And I'm only one planner of about 100 working on compromise legislation, and my involvement has been minimal because I'm working with the municipalities I serve directly.
Any further discussion? If someone would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move to approve and adopt Resolution 2025-002, resolution opposing subpart 11K of North Carolina Senate Bill 382 for the town of Summerfield as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item B, Mr. Rollins.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So 12B is a resolution for y'all's consideration. So let me give you a little bit of background. Guilford County is pretty unique. They got special legislation approved some time ago that they could do legal notices on their website versus the old paper type of advertisements, legal advertisements. And in that special legislation, it also authorizes the towns within Guilford County to also advertise on the website versus in the newspaper. In order to do that, the statute mandates that we have a resolution from the board stating that, so it's a big cost savings. When we print legal notices in newspapers, it costs a lot of money, anywhere from $300 to $1,000, depending on the size of the notice and how often. We'll now be able to advertise, comply with the law for like $10 per advertisement. What we would do for the citizens is we'd put all of our legal notices on our webpage, which would then point them to the Guilford County legal notices page. So this resolution is just authorizing us to start doing that immediately. And it is required for us to start doing that.
Question, this would not change us, our responsibility to notify citizens within a certain area of something. We still have to mail those
Yes.
folks?
Yes,
Yes.
especially around zoning, that still has to be
It
addressed.
simply deals with newspaper publication only. Sunshine list still goes, individual mailing still goes. It cannot affect any of those.
Thank
Or signs.
Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Can I?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
If this is adopted, are we able to put the Guilford County website, legal notices as a hyperlink on our town useful links page?
Yes, sir, and we would do that.
Okay, sorry.
We just need to contact our.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine, that's all right. I just, I don't understand why we wouldn't still do both, because a lot of these people know to go to the newspaper, look for things, and they're still going to the newspaper, and maybe somebody doesn't have access to the website or something to that nature. I just think if we're worried about transparency and everything, we need as much information out as possible. I don't see a reason to stop the newspaper. This, I think, is a good addition to, but I just don't see stopping the newspaper.
We don't have a local newspaper anymore.
But news and records, I mean, that's what we're talking about, news record, yeah.
This allows us in lieu of, but it does not prevent us from doing more if we want. That would be a decision for you all.
The biggest driver for this is the cost savings. That's the biggest driver it's a tremendous, when you're going from a minimum of $300 down to 10 for legal notices, I mean, that's the driver behind this is the cost savings.
And we can start to advertise too, that these notices are on that website.
Absolutely.
I see John's point though, and I wonder like how many subscriptions are there in Summerfield? Are there still hundreds of people that get the paper? Yeah, I don't know either, so that, I think maybe we could approve this as an addition, but I would be interested to find out how many people in Summerfield still get the paper. If it's next to nothing, or maybe, but if it's still a substantial number, then I think that's a good point.
I don't know how would we find that out?
I know one person who gets the news and record in Summerfield.
Is that you?
That's my mom.
So maybe we could look into seeing if we can find out from them how many people in Summerfield have a subscription to decide if we keep doing that route as well.
And I'm for that, I mean, her mom's a good example.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think the younger children or kids, people, are getting the newspaper. I mean, it's all online, but the older people, our older generation, are probably still using newspaper, because that's what it was, I mean, that's what it is.
I think in lieu of our local paper no longer being in existence, this is a good first step in what you take.
And if folks complain, I guess at that point, we can always push into the news and record. Hey, Linda, did you make your motion?
No, I got.
Okay.
I'm ready. You're not ready.
Just do it.
Okay. I move to approve and adopt RES 2025-003, publishing public notices on the Guilford County maintained website in lieu of newspapers.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion?
Does it need to see, I'm just saying in lieu of,
Yeah,
so that means we're taking out the newspapers, so,
yeah.
So we have the
We don't have
option.
any.
but it doesn't,
No, it says in lieu of.
in lieu of newspapers, so that means that we're not gonna do news and record.
No, it simply means that we don't have to do it. We can, if we fail doing a newspaper, we've still met our legal duty because we decided we could do it in lieu of. We can do addition.
Okay.
We could do it, nothing prevents us from putting signs up places either.
Okay.
But of course, we have to give Mr. Rollins direction on what we're doing, so at this point, it looks like we are replacing it.
We are.
I was gonna suggest later, like, well, we always post out here and at town hall too, and there's a lot of traffic here at the park to see the notices.
And this gets us compliant.
Compliant for newspaper publishing. Still have to send letters, still have to post, still have to put out signs, all of that.
In lieu means that we're not doing the paper.
Means we don't have to.
No, it means we're not. So this conversation we had about the newspaper means we're not doing it.
In lieu of, but I don't think it is you cannot do it. It's just like, we could now put up signs anywhere we want with newspapers. We can do the same thing with newspapers.
But the conversation was that we were going to do this in addition to newspapers, or try to investigate about newspapers. And it seems to me if we put in lieu of, then we're not going to investigate newspapers.
We don't have to do it. We do not have to do it. We can add to it.
Then what?
This is for our legal, in lieu of, for our legal obligation. In lieu of, for our legal obligation. Once we pass this and we've met the requirement of the county, there's a process we gotta go through. Once we do that, we no longer have a legal obligation in lieu of the newspaper. But it's about the legal, in lieu of is about the legal obligation. We can now just publish on Guilford County, or we can also, in addition, post a big sign out over Harris Teeter.
I don't think that we're the only towns that is doing this, because when I got on the website, I saw like Stokesdale, maybe High Point.
High Point.
We're not the Mavericks, we're not blazing the trail, there are other.
We're behind.
Okay.
Stokesdale's been doing it for several years.
So I don't think that prevents us still to instruct our town manager to look into the possibility of the newspaper. I mean, we can absolutely say that at any point in time.
It does.
But this gets us compliant like other towns.
In lieu of is simply shifting the legal obligation, not a you can't do anything else statement.
So, Mr. Rollins, if you hear complaints about it, listen.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried unanimously. Item 12C, Town Fiscal Year 23-24 Audit Report. Mr. Brewer, thank you for your patience this evening. I know this has been very interesting, and maybe you'll come back next month, but we'll turn it over to you now for your presentation.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask if the pleasure of yourself and the board, if we could take a 5-minute recess? We've been going for almost 3 hours. I think we may need to use the restroom right quick before Mr. Brewer gets started.
Okay.
I can make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to have a 5-minute recess.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, see you all in 5 minutes.
I held it there while you She just said, y'all never take a recess? I was like, not normally, we just go through it.
That's so pretty.
Yeah, appreciate your help. Very appreciative.
Going through,
Stay alive. That is true. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good one. See y'all.
I made some mistakes in there.
Yeah. Good luck.
you again for your patience. And Mr. Rollins, do you have anything to introduce here prior to Mr. Brewer coming, or?
Mr. Brewer, as required by the North Carolina General Statute, says we have to have an independent auditor to audit our financial audit every year, and so Mr. Brewer signed a contract to do that with us, and he's completed the audit. He has his presentation per North Carolina General Statutes he has to do, and so Mr. Brewer.
I think it's also important to know Mr. Brewer's a big bluegrass fan, so we have that in common.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's so good to be here in the wonderful town of Summerfield. Sorry about that. First thing I want to do is thank the mayor and the board for allowing me to be your auditor this year. And want to remind you that I work for you guys. Okay? A little bit of my background. I worked for Eddie Carrick for 18 years. Specializing in auditing not-for-profits, municipalities, power companies, things of that nature. I got kicked out of the nest here a couple years ago. He's 10 years older than me, so now I have to be the boss man. But in any case, I've got about 25 municipalities, and I'll specialize in populations less than 5,000. So I'm uniquely equipped to understand the needs of small municipalities. Okay, you know, I see the same problems everywhere I go, mostly the same things that happen. Because when you're small, you have smaller budgets, smaller staffs, less expertise. So we understand those things. Okay. So that being said, I'd just like to invite you, anytime you have any questions, concerns, my door's always open. So give me a call. A few months ago, I got a phone call, and well, actually the day before, I was actually talking to my peer reviewer, and he was talking about things and talking about Summerfield, and I really didn't even hardly know what was going on. And the next day, my phone rang, and it was Summerfield. I said, oh no. So anyways, I looked at so I asked, talked on a while on the phone, and they seemed to really understand governmental accounting and what was going on. So I was curious, so I requested a copy of the audit in the last couple of years and a copy of the general ledger, and I looked at that thing for a couple, 3 days. And I said, you know what? It's the good little town. Healthy. Man, this thing looks good. So I wasn't scared of it. I've seen about everything there's seen, so I said, hey, I'll take it on. So anyways, it was a pleasure. Okay, very healthy, looked really good, really clean when I got here. Okay, so that's just a little introductory, and my presentation is twofold. Okay, the first part of it is about the numbers, and I believe I handed out, everybody's got a guide. See this guide right here? Should be back in there. And the second page, 1 through 5, starts this colorful part. Now that colorful part, that's the second part, that's the required part that I have to do. Okay? So, 2 parts. Going over the numbers. After that, we're going to go through the required parts, going through indicators. Okay?
Is that can we follow it in the regular printout here? Or is that separate?
It is not in the packet. It was not in the packet.
Okay, so for the audit binders, before you start on page 1, you'll find the opinion. And the town of Summerfield received an unqualified or clean opinion. And what that means is that the financials before you, they fairly represent the books and records of the town as of June 30th, 2024, based on our audit procedures. And right after the opinion, starting on page 4 through 12, is a section that's called the Management Discussion and Analysis section. And this section is written in more layman's terms. It talks about where the town is, a little bit about where it's been, and even a little bit about where it's going. Now, this is a good time to remind you that your audit is a public document. Any of your constituents could come in and request a copy. And because the MD&A is written in a more layman's terms, that's always a good place to point them to start, okay? And right after the MD&A comes the exhibits, which is very technical, governmental accounting, full accrual, first two exhibits, modified accrual, the last exhibit starting in 3, 4, 5. Right after the exhibits is the notes, and after the notes starts the schedules, okay? So the schedules, that is the heart of it. The exhibits is really the technical audit. The schedules in the back, that tells you the story, the detail behind the exhibits. So that's where I want to go over the financial highlights. Starting on page 38, the general fund, or you can see it right here at the top of your guide, okay? So first thing we noticed is that ad valorem tax collections showed an increase of about $14,000. Next, we see that local option sales tax goes up about $2,600. Other taxes such as franchise tax, ABC distribution, beer and wine, and solid waste was up about $70,000. Grants was down about $234,000. Investment earnings, they were up about $187,000. Now I wanted to point that out because for years and years and years, I never got to say anything about investment earnings, okay? So the town of Summerfield's investment earnings increased $187,000 in 1 year, which is wonderful. So I would encourage everybody to take advantage of those interest rates while they're high, okay? So you guys brought in $187,000 just on interest. That's wonderful. I want to point that out. And next we see that miscellaneous revenues, they were up about $165,000. For a total revenues were up about $209,000 for the year. As for the expenditures, expenditures were also up about $1.3 million, mainly due to increases in salaries in the general government, planning and zoning, and cultural and recreation departments, as well as increases in capital outlay in the general government, cultural and rec, and the community services and committee departments. For the year, revenues were less than expenditures in the amount of $280,000 versus a profit of $867,000 in 2023. And I'd like to point out that 2023 was a year that you got $666,000 worth of COVID money, okay? So it kind of skews that 2023 number because of that great big COVID money grant, okay? Another point of interest is unassigned fund balance. It calculates to be 195% of current year's expenditures, and that's compared to $490 in 2023. Another highlight is your collection rate is well above state average at 99.72. Now that says a lot about your constituents and how they pay their property tax, because 99.72 is very enviable of everybody else. That's great, and that's very important because when you guys are, when it comes to budget time, you always want to start with revenues. You've got to start with revenues or you'll have trouble. Start with revenues, and having a collection rate of 99.72 gives you a good, confident foundation to start the budget process, okay? So I wanted to point that part. So that's a 30,000-foot view of some highlights on these financials. So if anybody has a question, I'd like to try to answer any of those questions.
And this is, just as a reminder, this is up through June 30th of 2024?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is about 8 months old. No questions? If there are no questions, I'd like for you to take your little hand out there and turn over to the colorful part, and that's where I'm going to start the second part, okay? Now, as you may recall, LGC will no longer be issuing unit letters, okay? This is our 4th year, and it used to be forever and ever. When we got done with the audit, we sent it to LGC. They run it through all kinds of different analysis and performance, and if they seen a problem, if they seen a concern, they would send a letter to the sorry.
Water?
Sorry. They would send a letter to the unit asking for their reply or their plan of action, okay? Now, for years and years, LGC always complained that when they had a municipality that got in financial trouble, and LGC had to get to the point where they came to town, then they were always upset that they always heard the same story. The boards didn't know. Right, that was always their complaint forever. It was like, the boards, we go there and the boards say, first I've heard about it. So, about 4 years ago, they came up with this. Okay, it's really been working out good. It's more work on me, but it's really helped our boards to understand. Now, LGC will no longer be issuing unit letters. Therefore, the auditors are now required to report to the governing body financial performance indicators and to notify the governing body of their requirement to submit a response to LGC if there are financial performance indicators of concern, or if the audited financial statements include one or more deficiencies or other findings. Okay? So now, they basically took the excuse from the boards. And it's very, very important that boards understand where you're at financially about your numbers, but also about operational. Because really an audit's about, most people think it's all about numbers, but it's not. It's also about operational things, okay? So, and boards are always coming and going. You always have some new people. So it's important that we do this every single year and give boards some help on understanding what is a performance indicator and what is a concern. All right? So it's been working out pretty good. So the governing body is required to develop a response to the auditor's findings. This response must be signed by a majority of the members of the governing body and be submitted to LGC within 60 days of the auditor's presentation addressing each deficiency or other audit finding and provide a plan to address each indicator of concern. All right? In layman's terms, y'all got 60 days from the day to address anything that's a concern. Okay? It's called a FPIC acronym. So 60 days from the day. All right? So let's go over the indicators. Starting on page 1, colorful right here, I want you to understand that anything that's red is an indicator of concern. And when I say red, I'm not talking about this graph right here. I'm talking about right in the middle. Okay? It's an indicator of concern. So, starting on page 2, you'll notice the first section, and that relates to the minimum unrestricted fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. That's that graph up there at the top. For a unit with the general fund expenditures the size of Summerfield, 34% is the minimum, and the average for a unit Summerfield's size is 63%. And I want you to notice that Summerfield is at 255.73. Okay? Forever, I always got to ask a question about that percentage. They say, well, is that good? Are we good? How do we stand? Well, is that good? Are we supposed to have that measure? Well, we never had a standard. Now there's a standard that's showing us what is a concern, and that's 34% or below. what's average for others your size, 63, and where you guys stand, 255.73. So what does that mean? That means if Summerfield continued to spend at the same rate that you spent in 2024 and did not collect a cent, you could stay open for 2.5 years before you'd run out of money. Unrestricted money. That's what that means. Okay? Now, before, a lot of people hang their hat on that percentage, and that is not the only thing that demonstrates your health. Okay? Because that number is very elastic. It's very fickle. It goes up and down real quick depending on what you're doing that year. I see small municipalities all the time save up their money, and they got a big road project going on, so they spend $500,000 on their roads in 1 year, and they went from a 450% to 98%. And they go, oh no, we had a terrible year. Well, that's because the way you figure that is that there's a number in the top and the number in the bottom that has to do with your expenditures. So it's going to kill your percentage that 1 year. And they say, we had a terrible year. I say, no, you didn't. You got all new paved roads. Right? And then the very next year, when they get to regular spending, their percentage shoots up. Right? So don't hang your hat on that 1%. Best thing to do is if you got a big expenditure coming up, you save for it, plan for it, spend it. Your percentage is going to go down. It's going to bump back up the next year. Okay? So don't hang your hat on that. But that is an indicator of concern if you fall below 34%. All right? Now, starting on page 4, you can go ahead and look at page 3. It really doesn't apply to you. Starting on number 9, it's talking about electric. Page 4. Starting with number 12. This section, starting with 12, is the general performance indicators. Okay? Like I said, the audit is more than just numbers. It's also about operational things like, are you making your budget correctly? Is it a legal language? Did you bust your budget? Is your finance officer bonded correctly? Things of that nature. In other words, things operationally that don't have nothing to do with debits and credits. All right? And this is a section starting on page 4, number 12. Now, I want to draw your attention to number 14. Correct, number 16. I didn't have my glasses on when I wrote this. Number 16. There's an indicator of concern there. It says this indicator identifies whether the unit has any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or management letter comments. The following are the auditor's management comments that need to be addressed within 60 days. Okay? There's 2 things that needs to be answered. All right? And I believe you'll see that you've already got the answers to those. Okay? Number 1, during the year, the original primary operating bank accounts reconciliations could not be located. Therefore, it could not be determined if the monthly reconciliations were timely. Subsequently, all the bank reconciliations were completed and accurately prepared. And even subsequent to that, which was just last month, it brought to my attention that those original bank reconciliations were found, and I did inspect them, and they were done timely. Okay, so that's part of my procedures. Is not only do I look to see if they're correct, but I look to see the date and if they're timely. The originals at the time could not be found, so I couldn't determine it. So I just had to put a comment saying I couldn't determine it. Okay? So that's already been answered. That indicator has to be answered within 60 days of the day. Okay? It's already been answered, already been taken care of. Number 2, prior to the current audit year, the town's fixed asset schedule had not been properly maintained. Prior additions and disposals were not recorded or depreciated in accordance with policy. Subsequently, the town has revised and updated its fixed asset schedule to properly reflect the town's capital asset purchases. The town has implemented a suitable system to document and record capital assets going forward. Okay, so during my audit of the numbers and of the operational things, I found that the fixed assets mechanism you had to figure to keep track with fixed assets, additions and disposals were a problem. Were really a mess. You know, I believe the prior auditor had the same issue and done a adjusting entry or done a prior period adjustment to try to reconcile back that. Unfortunately, I believe that should have been done on a full basis. So this year, the whole depreciation schedule was revamped and actually put in a format of a depreciation schedule. So it is about as solid as I can see. Okay, so those are the only two indicators of concern for the town of Summerfield for the year ending June 30th, 2024.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So, based on what you just said, we now have a policy, rules and regulations to follow so that these fixed assets are maintained properly and
When you say maintained, are you
or,
saying
well, you're saying that
recorded, or are you saying